Right. Are you doing the countdown thing again, or?
Tera te karangai, terangi, te manu tuia, tuia, irunga, tuia, iraro, tuia, iroto, tuia, iwaho, tuia, te here tangata, karongo te poka, karongo te a, hangye huye.
Welcome to Amarai. It's our Turanga YY. It's the place where I'm from, the place I belong, the place where my ancestors roam. Welcome to Amarai. It's our Turanga YY. It's the place where I'm from, the place I belong, the place where my ancestors roam. Yeah, ain't nothing like a poor feedy on the marae when you arrive to meet up with another tribe. The sun shining in your eyes, showing off the flies, waiting for the first speaker on the pie. Fire corridor, straight from the Mohio. Vital life lessons for Tama and Cortidor, but one at a time. First Kermata will speak their minds, then the Manu Hidi will give their reply. No matter what the occasion, whether somebody's passed on, I'm waiting on that just aging. Marae is the staging. This is as formal as it gets. Show aroha and respect for each other. Don't forget a why I talk to your speech, brother. That's sweet cause we all know a little bit of kappa haka. Tribal roots run deeper than you can manage or even imagine. Tapu ass but can be damaged, yeah.
Listen directly from your ancestors. They're in your blood, they're in your bones. Mountains will remain. When you travel to a distant land, you're gonna take a piece of home. Let it resonate deep in your soul.
Yeah, welcome to Amarai. It's our Turanga YY. It's the place where I'm from, the place I belong, the place where my ancestors roam. Welcome to Amarai. It's our Turanga YY. It's the place where I'm from, the place I belong, the place where my ancestors roam. No matter if you come from near or far, we all know the code papa, where your roots are drawn to your fucker papa. You never fall for the future without your past, without the waitua. Vitukuna, Banu, Pa, Hongi and Kihi. No my heart and mind to the final behind the scenes. Mahi up in the whare kai. It comes to no surprise, Māori are multi-talented, keeping the balance between our art crafters and battlers. This ain't a place for staunch walks or faces forward arrogance. Amateurs is just a straight up embarrassment. The teko says it all to the average witness, but they knew we portraits of real savages. Blood of our ancestors runs deep within tribal marriages and Kohangareo to teach the kids one foundations of concrete. That's where my speech begins. Māori stand again. This time we fight for keeps and wins.
Listen directly from your ancestors. They're in your blood, they're in your bones. Mountains will remain. When you travel to a distant land, you're gonna take a piece of home. Let it resonate deep in your soul.
Yeah, welcome to Amarai. It's our Turanga YY. It's the place where I'm from, the place I belong, the place where my ancestors roam. Welcome to Amarai. It's our Turanga YY. It's the place where I'm from, the place I belong, the place where my ancestors roam.
Tawa hono finangalo, he matema atonga aki holoto.
Yo.
Fresh About Life on the Y.C.D Facebook page.
1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
See you there.
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 What's up? Yo,
Nah, look.
this is a different looking panel.
What's good,
What's up,
man?
boys? DJ Infared. Oh, the DJ. This is like the DJ panel. DJ Infared and DJ Danny L. What's happening?
What up, Sid? Sid Vicious?
How's it, Danny L?
I'm good.
How's it, Danny L? You good?
I'm good.
That mic might need to turn up a little bit, bro.
Check. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Mic check 1, 2. I'm a rapper.
I can hear you fine, Red.
Yo.
What's up?
Do you hear Danny?
Mate Tonga, mate.
It is. It's still Tongan Language Week. It's probably, it's the last day of Tongan Language
last
Week.
day of Tongan Language Week.
And some good things happening this week. Obviously, everyone going back to work at level 2, certainly outside of Auckland. For us guys, we've been back in the building at Y.C.D. It's not Y.C.D. It's been normal conditions, but it's been good to get in the building, eh?
Yeah, it's been great to get in the building just to get back to work. I was kind of getting really frustrated at home. Stuck in these bubbles. It does my head in.
And good to see the young people after obviously roughly 3 weeks of no face-to-face contact.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you're just tuning in, my name's Sid, I'm from Y.C.D. We've been running these through lockdown just to connect with our young people, and we had this planned all along. On Friday it was going to be a hip-hop special with a couple of real cool obviously guests from different aspects of
the culture.
The hip-hop culture. So we're pretty fortunate to have Richie Mills coming up in the broadcast.
That's right.
We got Keza from formerly from Common Ground, obviously. His B-boy journey. And Danny L and I caught up with young Sid.
Sidney Diamond.
Yeah, Sid Diamond.
He doesn't like that name anymore. He does not like that name.
Lucky I didn't further, young Sid and old Sid. But so Sid Diamond, Danny L and I caught up with him earlier in the week, which was me.
Guy's the man.
So, yeah, bro. He was the man. It was real cool to interview him, and good to hear what he's up to currently, and how I guess his life and hip hop journey led him to where he is. But also really exciting from a wider CD perspective. That this past week, Y.C.D. Obviously announced the Chch Hiphop Summit to be held later this year, 2021. Red, you're obviously, you're the driving force behind the Chch Hiphop Summit, and I guess it's rebirth because it's happened before, right?
Yeah. So I mean, the Hip Hop Summit's been around. It was the first one was 2000 in Christchurch, 21 years ago in Christchurch.
21 years ago.
21 years ago, which was in Christchurch. It was organised by a good friend, DJ Ali.
Alistair Toto.
Who ignited the spark for the summit back in 2000 with limited resources and limited support, but he created something that ended up turning into being a monster of an event over the years. And the summit ran for a good, I think, 6 years. Well, the first one was in Christchurch, and then it had 2001 to I think 2005, 5 or 6, I can't remember. But the rest of them were in Auckland, and they were massive events in Auckland City. It was it was like a golden era of hip hop in our country in New Zealand. Really brought it to the forefront. The summit, combination of the Hip Hop Summit and DJ Severe's, Major Flavors, Dawn Raid, Scribe, all of that happening around the same time, really just made hip hop blow up in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And
21 years ago, that is 2000. It's the beginning of the millennium.
My math is good.
Can you remember, I guess, when we talked to Sid Diamond, he was talking about, I guess he came to prominence around 2008, 2007, 2008. So who were the artists around 2000 that, if you were organising obviously the Hip Hop Summit then, who might you be trying to enlist as
from 2000?
Yeah, from 2000.
From 2000, it'll be a young Scribe, Beats and Pieces. Of course, Richie was a part of Beats and Pieces. Foot Soldiers from Wellington, which of course was DJ Raw, Flows, Koz, Ali, and Shogun. They were really influential back then. And then of course Auckland, or Hamilton, of course, with Foot Soldiers, Time Bandits, also Wellington, and Auckland. Dawn Raid was kind of just coming out, and Decepticons and who was in Dawn Raid at the time, I think Chaos, Ill Semantics, were just coming out. And of course you had the big artists at the time, which would have been Shay Fu and King Caps, Damn Native. There were a few around the time, but that's who I can think of off the top of my head right now. But I do remember Sid. I've played at like 3 or 4 summits, and Sid was on the last one, I think, and they were just starting to make a bit of noise then. But the summit really was a platform for those up and coming artists to showcase what they have, and then obviously try to take it to the next level.
So how many summits do they have? You mentioned that the summit used to happen around the 2000s, so 21 years ago. How many did they have before? Obviously, there have been other summits, but the Aotearoa Hip Hop Summit, which is known as the summit, is the New Zealand Hip Hop Summit, was I think 2000 to 2005. I think, or was it 2006? Yeah,
it was either 2005 or 2006. I can't remember off the top of my head. But golden era for hip hop. It was a massive thing. Biggest thing to happen to New Zealand hip hop was the Hip Hop Summit.
Sell it. What is it about? It's obviously coming up in November,
obviously it has December. So we have the Christchurch Hip Hop Summit in December this year. It took nearly a good 2 years of trying to get the right people on board and getting the right ticks from the people that needed to give the ticks. And it was a long process of trying to put it together. It definitely wasn't easy, and it was a very time-consuming process, and also had to learn how to play the game with certain people, I guess, like people that kind of still, I don't know, have
people
those
that hold the keys.
That hold the keys, the gatekeepers that still think it, they still a bit old school in their thinking as far as what they think hip hop is. They think it's just
those stereotypes,
the stereotypes of the profanity and the I guess
the negative
gangsterism, all that sort of stuff is they don't see the whole the positives of the importance of actual hip hop as a culture. You know, because hip hop is built on values, of social justice, peace, respect, self-worth, community, and having fun. But what a lot of people think it is kind of profanity and materialism, gangsterism. They just think it's all negative. But we're slowly starting to break down those barriers. And this will be a big part of that for Christchurch anyway. I'm talking about Christchurch. I think the rest, Auckland and Wellington are a bit different, but as far as Christchurch, we some of our oldies think a bit different.
Conservative Christchurch.
But this is Christchurch we're talking about.
But we're turning the corner. We're turning the corner.
Like we're turning the pages. So we've got the Christchurch Hiphop Summit coming up in December, which is the 9th, 10th, and 11th. So far, there possibly might be one more day or night added to it. It's just a celebration of our culture. The purpose of it, for me, originally was to engage our young people in the hip hop culture, because hip hop culture, whether young people know it or not, is a massive part of youth culture. They listen to rap music, they love to dance, they love to tag. So trying to, and there's a lot of talented young people that are good artists or good at rapping or singing or dancing, beat making or want to be DJs. Just trying to give them an outlet, a platform that they can express themselves on, because it had been missing for a long time in youth culture, especially in our city. So I know a lot of people don't play sport like we used to. I mean, when we were young, we obviously were into the hip hop culture, but a majority of us played rugby or league. But that's kind of gone now. You don't really have many of our young people that are into hip hop that play sport. So trying to re-educate the culture to them and show them that this thing can be really positive for them and something that they can get into and possibly excel in. Give them another option to, because you see these young people making bad decisions, going to doing what they do, doing what young people do on the weekends, going to parties, and unfortunate things happen at these parties or stealing cars and stuff. I've come across some young people that are very talented in rapping or different parts of the hip hop culture that they don't really realize that they're good at. And they just need a bit of direction. So that was the main purpose for me at the start, was to engage, try and think of something that we can do for our young people to try and turn a page and try and get them into something positive that they actually like, that they already kind of do, but they just need a bit of direction and people showing them how to do it properly. And also that it's also about unifying our hip hop scene in Christchurch. So this hip hop summit, it says the Christchurch Hip Hop Summit. Obviously, it's open to everyone, but we have such a strong hip hop scene in Christchurch that no one outside of the hip hop community really know about. So when we talk about Common Ground, for example, best break dancers in the country, and they have been for a long time. And like Crumpers, you got Wild Culture, you got Yak and that, they're up there as the best in the country. We've got DJs that are up there as the best in the country. Our MCs are just, we've got some amazing MCs here that the wider community don't know about, and they think that I mean, it's been a thing forever. Everyone turns to Auckland, as far as that's where the established acts are. But we have acts here that are just as good. They just need a bit of support, and they obviously need support, exposure, and something like a summit with that platform could do it for them. And obviously, hip hop is, I think one thing that I've done is, I just need to check my ego. Everyone kind of needs to check their egos and leave them at the door and come and try and be supportive and and support each other, and try and because it's for everyone. It's not, it's for everyone. Everyone that's up and coming or that wants to be a part of the summit. We want to give everyone an opportunity to showcase their talents. So this is not, we're not type of gatekeepers or anything. Say you can and you can't and you can. This is open for everyone. As long as I all about the kaupapa of what we're trying to do, which is promote our hip hop culture, re-educate to our young people, and support our hip hop scene and try and get it to where it was 21 years ago.
Word, that's dope, bro.
Well, how when you talk about young people, how are young people going to be involved? Is it just for them to come and watch? Are you going to showcase any young staff or?
Yeah, well,
up and comers. Obviously, we spoke with Iverson in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, so you got guys like Iverson,
like you say, we've had a couple of.
Yeah, so it's obviously it's got to be around the hip hop community, Christchurch and New Zealand wide. So it's going to be mainly established acts and stuff like that. The summit will have, the summit it's going to be a 3-day thing. So there'll be workshops for young people and adults, workshops in b-boying, crumping, DJing, MCing, beat making, with guys that are heads of their trades.
Yeah.
There'll be keynote speakers, panel discussions, Q&As, showcase performances, exhibition battles, just trying to cover everything in the hip hop culture.
Yeah.
Over those 3 days, and there'll be some it'll it's coming together. Like the program's there, the 3 days are there. We're just kind of like tweaking at the moment and finalizing a few things, and we're nearly there.
Mate.
Yeah.
Looks like our first guest.
Yeah. Who's the first guest, bro?
Our first guest has been waiting patiently.
I'm like surrounded by DJs here, and if I didn't have enough of them, we got one more coming in hot from the old school.
Hey.
What's up, Richie? AKA
Yo.
DJ Pause.
What's up? Can you hear me?
Brother. Yeah, bro.
You're good, son?
Yeah, boy. What's up? Good, man.
Class.
What up, Rich?
What up? How's it
Not
going?
only a notable DJ, but former Y.C.D up in here.
Hard, bro. Hard.
That's right.
Y.C.D, give me your name. What's your stats? Age? What are you here for? You're just dropping in, do some b-boying. Here to see Richie. Yeah,
man.
that's a pass. Here to
Bro,
learn
tell
some
us
b-boying.
what your role used to be there, bro.
So when I worked at Y.C.D, I was helping run these b-boy workshops at Pacific Underground when it was at the Ducks Deluxe.
Yes, yeah.
And that had got quite a bit of traction in the
Hey.
ooh, look at that Skux guy. And then Pacific Underground moved out of that building, and we needed somewhere else to take the workshops. The Run DMC Jason Nevins video had blown up massively, so there was this kind of this big kind of need for there to be somewhere where people could learn how to b-boy and break dance and dance. So I took the workshops to Y.C.D. I hit up Annie. She said, "Yep, cool." We did them on a Tuesday from 5 till 7 and a Thursday from 5 to 7.
Nice.
I think within a few months, or I don't know how long it was, but I was sitting downstairs with Annie, and we had like over 100 kids in there. And I just read this book about manifesting your, the art of the laws of attraction, like just manifest your dreams, and you could you never know. So we were sitting there with Annie, and I go, "Can I have a job?" And she just goes, "Yeah." And I was like, "Sweet." So she just hired me to kind of do those workshops every night. I'll work there in the drop-in center during the day, do the workshops on it. I think we switched them to Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or we had Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, but there were 3 nights of workshops instead of 2. And we were getting like 200 kids a night at some stage. It was like, just, you know, the stats were going crazy, and it was mainly, I think it was because, and I think it's an integral part for hip hop in general in New Zealand, was when the Jason Nevins vs Run DMC video came out, a huge amount of kids were already into breaking, and then when that came out, it just took breakdancing like mainstream, where every kid who was a teenager wanted to learn how to breakdance. So it beefed up the numbers for the skate jams when they'd have b-boy battles. Any youth worker who was doing hip hop stuff, you just got way more numbers, and which led to things like the Hip Hop Summit being viable, because things like the Hip Hop Summit couldn't have happened without the youth. Like the numbers in the adult kind of category were good, but they weren't on the same level as once all these kids got involved, and the b-boying scene kind of beefed up the numbers. You had so many kids trying to sneak into clubs to come to our gigs as well, and it was a bit relaxed back then, so a lot of yous got in, Red.
Yeah, man.
Red, 17-year-old Red.
I just want to say that, you know, Richie, for a lot of people that don't know who Richie is a very important person of our culture, and like, he really, Richie, if he wasn't doing these b-boy workshops and his DJ workshops and that at the time, we would have had a whole bunch of youth that would have gotten into the culture, but they wouldn't have had the direction. And I feel that Richie's sparked that in Christchurch. So, I mean, a lot of people don't know that, but definitely, he was definitely one of the guys that we looked up to coming through.
There's some classic pictures.
There's some cool pictures in there. It's classic.
Bro.
The b-boy
I don't
games.
think,
like prepubescent common ground or what?
Yeah, hard. That's so good. Yeah, I mean, I'd been living in Wellington from 96 to 98, and I was hanging around with Kick Squad and Foot Soldiers, and they had this real kind of purist hip hop vibe. So it was almost anti-music industry, because like you said, the perception of hip hop is gangsters, but that comes not from hip hop, that comes from the music industry and them wanting to promote a certain type of rap, which made you think that hip hop was a certain way. But that was just like voyeurism from the Pākehā audience in America wanting to see gangster rap. So then the record labels marketing that, and then in turn creating a cycle of everyone thinking that's what hip hop was about. But in Wellington, they were almost anti music industry, and they were just like about, it was the DJs, the b-boys, the graph writers first, and the MCs were like last in line for the glory as far as the way they approached it. But they were also I think in general, like, I've always been a kind of get people together person. Like before hip hop, I was in a dance group called Tribal Lovers with Steve Tafir, Johnny Mateo, and a bunch of Limwood High School kids, and we used to run the dance scene on that level as well. And then, but I was always the one who's like, practices at my house. When we go perform, meet at my house, my mum will take us, and then we'll drop you off afterwards. We'll tell your parents that you're not doing this, because they weren't allowed to dance. Most of my Samoan friends who danced with me weren't allowed to come and do that. So we would cover for them and just say we were at my house, but really we were going youth group praying and stuff, you know. THO library, meeting or something. Yeah, studying and stuff. And then
Richie's so a good boy.
He is, yeah, and they did. Richie's a cool boy, because they liked me because I was real talkative, and they didn't like people who, like, I noticed all the Samoan parents didn't like the quiet kids. They liked the ones who would talk, and I'd be like, oh, hey. I'd be like, hi, and I say hi to all the parents. Oh, Richie's a good boy, and it's like, yeah. And I wasn't too naughty, but it was kind of like, I saw the value in being the person who kind of encouraged people and brought people together. So when Y.C.D. when that breakdancing thing kicked off, it was kind of like I was harsh, but I was welcoming, but I was harsh as well. Like it's like kind of like I had my values and I was pretty staunch hip hop, but everyone was welcome. But also, you're here to learn. You're not here to try and tell me what hip hop is. I'm telling you what hip hop is, kind of thing. Like, and I knew I had the knowledge because I'd learned from like Swerve and Curb from Kick Squad, who are like real purist hip hoppers. So, and I was kind of going through a stage in my life where I was kind of preaching that purist buzz. But then later on, the Christchurch vibe kicked back in, and I became a bit more relaxed about it, and it was a bit more experimental, kind of, you know, just kind of a bit more not so purist about it. But then it kind of died down by 2005, 6, 7, as far as like those huge numbers that the b-boys brought to the culture. But yeah, no, it was definitely a golden age of hip hop in New Zealand, 98 to 2005.
Taking it back.
And some people were early and they didn't quite cash in on it, or they didn't quite like get the recognition they deserve. And some people were late, but it's just kind of timing. Like Scribe blew up because Scribe was dope, but he also blew up because the numbers were there to support his skill set, because there was King Kapisi and Shay and Upper Heart Posse and all that before him, but the numbers weren't there. The numbers hadn't quite got to that thing, and that wasn't just the breakdancing. That was also things like hip hop in general worldwide becoming more popular, like, you know, rappers, hip hop in general blowing up, not just the Jason Nevins Run DMC video, but rap music in general just becoming a lot more popular, and globally, just in every part of culture, just hitting the mainstream. So, and it's changed a lot, but it's good.
Especially when like Eminem came out around that 98, eh? Yeah,
well, you know, if you look at marketing, when you market something, the easiest way to market it is to have the audience identify with something in the product. And Eminem, he made it viable for a lot of Pākehā kids to say, oh, I'm actually part of this. I can be part of this. This isn't just a brown kid thing. This isn't just a black kid thing. This is something I'm allowed to be a part of now. And Eminem did that because the biggest percentage of in New Zealand is Pākehā. In Australia, it's Pākehā. In America, it's Pākehā. In England, it's Pākehā. It's like, yes, it was all made by brown people and black people, but it's when it went mainstream, it was about those demographics acknowledging it, as far as like just increasing numbers, really. Because if they just got the, you know, it's just a numbers game. It's not about kind of color. It's just numbers. It's just numbers, like, you know. Hip hop would have been blowing up a lot earlier.
Before Eminem made it all right for, you know, or like he was legit, obviously. But before Eminem, like there was that, like, you know, if you were white and hip hop was like you were wicked.
yeah, exactly. And there was a bit, you know, which is strange for that to come from a New Zealand community, because to them in America, the African American culture, they look at us like we're brown or Asian or something. Like they don't really see us as being like, because, you know, we kind of get called the N-word when we're growing up by skinheads walking through Christchurch, and we go, oh yeah, that's us, we're the N-word too, and they're like, no, you're not. And it's like, it's like, so we, you know, but yeah, it definitely, you know, those role models like lighter shade of brown and the Puerto Rican kids and that stuff, they were kind of, you know, they made brown people, like Puerto Ricans have always been a part of hip hop. So when Māori saw Puerto Ricans and black people, they were like, yeah, we're all part of that too. You know, we're all, you know, we look like Puerto Ricans. We can be part of that. We can be in Rocksteady Crew because my cousin looks exactly like King Swift or something like that, or Crazy Leagues. So yeah, it's just
Richie, you mentioned you know, dance crew, and obviously drop from Limwood, like names like Steve Duffy. I can't imagine
Yep.
you guys having like big power moves and stuff. What kind of dancing was it back then, mate? Was it like
New
like
Jack.
the pop and lock stuff, or was it
No, it was
old
New Jack
running
dancing.
man?
Yeah, it was the Running Man stuff. It's called hip hop now, and crews like the Mop Top crew who used to dance for Mariah Carey and Dream Lover, Fantasy. But yeah, kind of like Troop, MC Hammer, obviously.
Guy.
But we used to like watch those videos, and we'd just be obsessed with like who are the dancers in MC Hammer's group? Is it, when I think his name was Flat Top and High Top and Bones, and then Father MC had two real good dancers, and then Troop, they could dance themselves. They were really good dancers. So we would obsess over kind of that, record the videos, rewind, watch all their things, steal their moves. But yeah, it was that style. So there wasn't, there weren't really power moves as such. It was more choreography. And we took it. They used to have these dance competitions at Worcester Bar in 1990 to 1993, and me, Steve, and Johnny, we used to win it every year. We used to take out. We were like underage. We would go. Poss from Pacific Underground was the barman, and him and the doorman, they'd let us in. We'd jump in, we'd win the competition, and then we'd have to leave. And then but we were taking out all the adults. They were still popping and locking. They were still doing like they were the first generation poppers and lockers, and they were doing that, and we were like doing the legit cool stuff of the time through 90 to 93.
He's like Guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Bro,
So I kind of
was it like black kung fu shoes and white socks or what?
Nah, Mr. Henry's or Doc Martens. Rolled up dress pants, shirts, ties, like undercuts with nice hair, the good hair, and kind of like it was more like dress clothing at that stage. It hadn't really turned into sportswear or like sneakers and jeans, and it was more. But and then I started dancing for this guy called Hamish, who had a shop called Hip Hop Fob, and him and Anton from Pacific Underground started Beats and Pieces, and I'd already been a dancer for Hamish, and then I'd started DJing, and then they got me to become the DJ for Beats and Pieces, and I'd kind of stopped dancing by then, so I kind of just transitioned from. But never stopped dancing. Like I was still b-boying years later, obviously, and then crumping when crumping came out. So yeah, it's just always been in me. The dancing and the DJing's been there. I celebrate my 30th year as a DJ this year, and 30 years as a dancer last year.
Roses.
So it's kind of like, yeah, man, it's gone like that. 30 years, boom, gone.
Bro, if I take it back to the Y.C.D, back to your Y.C.D sort of journey, bro, where was it physically when you were on the scene, bro? Was it when I Les Mills, was it?
When I first got into it, it was called Olymics, and it was the movie theater around the corner from the Doghouse, and it was kind of like it was the precursor to Pacific Underground and Y.C.D, and it was Vic and Lossa. And before Y.C.D and Pacific Underground had kind of blown up, there were these other things happening there. And then then Y.C.D popped up on Manchester Street where the YHA youth hostel is now, and that was that building was Pacific Underground and Y.C.D. But we would go there and play basketball. We'd play 3-on-3. That's how I got introduced to Y.C.D. Was I was into basketball, and we used to just go play 3-on-3 with like the Symphony Boys, Dallas Tamaida, Jason Huranui, Nathan and Craig Chalmers, and we would just play b-ball all day, and then we'd get into the music. They were all singers. I was a DJ. I was rapping as well, but Y.C.D was at Manchester Street back then, and it was dope. It was Anton was in Beats and Pieces with me, and then he became the manager of Pacific Underground, so it was like even more reasons to hang out there. Then they developed like a music section of Pacific Underground, so it's like, oh sweet, I'm not an actor, I'm not into this theater buzz, but damn, yeah, we'll go do all these gigs with Pacific Underground as their DJs, so we'd be the Pacific Underground DJs and stuff. And Losso was upstairs doing the Y.C.D thing, and I actually checked into Hamner Queen Mary Hospital at when I was 19, and Y.C.D was there, because Lossa and Vic and that whole family, a lot of them had been through Queen Mary Rehab Centre, and I just needed some time out. Yeah, and I needed some time out, and that, so I went there as well. And when I got out, Lossa gave me a job at Y.C.D, just being like a supervisor there for 6 months, and then that contract ran out, and then I moved to Wellington, and then I came back, and that's where I picked up with the workshops again. But I taught some workshops in '96 at that old school Y.C.D, because that's when I actually learned from a dude called Heto, who's an actor for Pacific Underground, and he taught me 6-step and a few other popping things. Then I taught a couple of workshops. Then I moved to Wellington, and then so it's kind of always had this attachment with Y.C.D from early on. Like before it was on Litchfield Street when Annie was running it, I was already connected to it through when Lossa was running it, and it was on Manchester Street. Yeah,
mean, and that's what it's been over, for a long time over the years for lots of young people, and we sort of hope, I guess, with Red relaunching Hip Hop Summit, it'd be cool to see some of that dynamic come back again. Bro, Jason Hudnui, he had some pipes.
Yeah, bro, he's an amazing singer, really good basketball player too.
Yeah, good basketball. Hey, bro, you get it. And real good looking, like one of the pretty boys.
Yeah, hard out pretty boy, like just a bit of a gangster on the basketball court, man. Dude, yeah, to step up if you wanted to play against him. But then, literally the best singer in symphony too, in a lot of ways. Like as far as range goes, he had the best range, but he was probably the most shy out of all of them.
Yeah,
I think Dallas was the most confident, and he had kind of the most unique voice, kind of more rougher, but he was more into the songwriting and stuff. And then obviously he's doing his Fat Freddy's buzz. But Jason definitely had the kind of the best range and the best quality voice. I think think he's just a bit shy. I don't think he quite. He's just shy, kind of shy, but kind of not. I don't know, but definitely the best singer I thought.
We'll just say humble.
Pretty boy Steve.
Yeah, very humble. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
not humble on the basketball court though. Definitely not humble on the basketball court.
You got to bring your A game on the court.
Yeah, man, hardcore. Get knocked out if you didn't.
Bro, speaking of pretty boy Steve, that photo, that first old school photo of you with
the good hair.
Good hair, mate. There must have been a bit of gel in that, eh? Was that gel days or petroleum jelly?
I remember that shoot. I remember it really well. I took this red hat with me. I was maroon colored, and the lady said I had to take my hat off, and I was pissed off about it. And then later she told the other two that I had a bit of an attitude. but she said it was good attitude, so I don't know where she was coming from, but I really didn't. I wasn't even. Those were the days where I wasn't really about my hair. I was more like wearing hats, like always wearing hats. But she was like, if you know anything about photography, because Hamish has got a cap on, but it's not like a baseball cap. I had a baseball cap on, and it kind of covered your eyes, and you couldn't see my eyes. So later on, when I got in photography, I know what she was going on about. But yeah, and the funny thing about that photo is Hamish is 6'7", so he's sitting down, and we're like, he's still just the same height as us. He's a giant, that guy. He's so tall. He's like 6'7", 6'8". He's like really, really tall. Like, holy shit, it's Bigfoot tall.
What are you doing hip hop wise these days, bro?
Not much really. I mean, I make music videos. I made all of the music videos for the last 3 Settlers videos from Littleton.
Right. You don't
So I've been making.
More?
Nah, I've been doing music. Nah, not really. I've been doing the in-stores for Burger Fuel, and I've had a couple of parties. I DJ'd for Scribe about a month ago at a gig in it was some rave out of Methven. I got a late call up to just go DJ for him, and that was pretty interesting. I still got gear and I practice, but I just don't bother. I don't want to go. I don't like being a DJ anymore. Because when we were into hip hop,
yeah.
Well, nah. It's kind of like a when we were into DJing, we would find clubs that wouldn't tell us what to play, and then we could play what we wanted to play. And whenever someone tried to tell us what to play, we'd stop playing there because we didn't get into hip hop DJing to be told what to play. We got into hip hop DJing to teach people what they should be listening to. And that culture of the audience wanting to hear the songs they want to hear has changed, because back in the day also the DJs were the ones who had the new music, and that if you wanted to hear new music you had to go out and you had to find DJs. But now it comes out on Spotify first and everyone's got it, and then the DJs are like, well, I don't want to play what everyone's listening to. I want to be different, because that's the way most DJs are inclined to be. Like they become DJs because they have specific tastes in music, and they want to, if you're the dude who used to take CDs to parties and change them and play your music, you're a DJ. You should be a DJ because you're a DJ inclined, right? But now it's like you're a jukebox. You go to the club and people try and tell you what to play, and it's like, oh. And there's a couple of clubs in Auckland where I used to play, Neck of the Woods and Ponsonby Social Club, where there was a no request policy. But in Christchurch, after the earthquakes and that, the first clubs to pop up were mainly kind of like the majority, unless you were like Club Kings where you threw your own parties and people couldn't tell you what to play. Yeah, you had to, if it was like the club hiring you, they would be like, you've got to play all top of the pop shit, and that's not me. That's not my buzz. That's not what. And I've never really had a residency. I used to DJ at La Luna in Wellington for 2 years, and then I DJ'd at Dan's on a Thursday night sometimes if he didn't piss me off or if I didn't piss him off. And then and that was from him going, stop playing that rap shit. He's like telling me to stop playing the rap shit, and it's like, yeah, I get it, but nah. So yeah, it's kind of, I don't really do, and also I kind of got into battle DJing, so just scratching and beat juggling. That was more like I would rather do that than play songs to people in the end. I would rather be the person who was scratching or and then the other residency I had was What Now, which is like the complete opposite, but it was a whole different learning curve, a whole different audience, a whole different pay grade, like regular good money. Oh yeah, there I am looking hot. Yeah, in between Tamati and Serena with my brown wig. And yeah, so I got to, like, I'm a bit of a joker, so the What Now thing encompassed a lot of things that I was down with. I guess before that I went and did this TV show called Tūhono, and then I was the DJ on that for the first 2 seasons, and then they hired me to do, and that was like just proper beat juggling and scratching, and then you play instrumentals. You didn't have to play anything cheesy, so it was like, oh, perfect. And then the What Now thing, that was like, oh, you've got to play commercial music, and I was like, sweet, yeah, that's the audience. Like, it was just like an opportunity for me that was beyond hip hop. It was more like a credibility thing, like almost like I could actually like make some real money and I was on there for 4 years getting paid good money every week, so it was like worth it in that respect, but also worth it in a way where people from ever since those days, people have taken me more seriously. Like before that, I think I wasn't taken as serious in some ways, so it was good for that. Definitely, yeah. Like even to this day, it's just like a credibility thing. Like people will be like, "Oh, who's Richie?" and "Oh, he did this," and "Oh, and he did what now?" and they're like, "Oh shit, yeah, all good. Hire him, do this, yep, sweet." So, and it, there were a few purists who were like, "Oh, Richie sold out," and it's like, I'd got past that purist buzz by then, and I've also. I'd already been in the game so long, and I was a fully grown adult that I didn't really, nothing really got to me. I was just like, sweet, all goods. But that was just people that was more of a reflection of the haters than it was a reflection on me, because everyone who knew me and was supporting me were good people who weren't worried about anything. The haters were just.
Once you've been through the struggles, you get Teflon skinny.
Yeah. But that's,
I don't see it as selling out. I see it as someone that's done hard work. He's done his hard yards. He's a purist in hip hop. Go and make some money, bro.
That's the thing is, like, anyone who talks shit, sorry, I don't know. I shouldn't be swearing if there's youth here, but anyone who is talking trash, it's kind of like, well, I wouldn't be like, oh, why do you think that? Oh, what do you do this? I would be like, oh, you want to battle? And they would just be like, what? And I'll be like, oh, you're going to talk trash? That means you either think you've got the skills to take me out, or you're talking trash because you think you're better at this than me, or you know something I don't know. So let's go. Like what you? And I would be like, they didn't know. They just thought I was like a funny guy on TV. But I was like, you pick your realm. You can, it could be rapping, it could be DJing, it could be dancing, heck, even graffiti. You pick the realm, I'll battle you. And they would just be like, oh, nah. And I'll be like, exactly, shush. I'll just be, because I wasn't, we came up battling like, we were DJs, but we would jump in and we would battle King Kapisi. We'd be like backstage battling rappers and be like, oh, yo, we'd just be like, we didn't care. We grew up in an era where you did everything anyway. Like you even you look at Red. Like Red's a prime example of someone who I was first introduced to as a dancer. He was like this dope popper, and then the DJing, and then the rapping, and it's like, yeah, that's normal, especially in Christchurch. In Christchurch, that was like normal for people to be one thing. It wasn't, it was more like, we encouraged the multi-realm buzz. Like, yeah, man, just because you're
mastering the different elements.
Yeah.
Oh, I still think it's fun. It's finding. You want to give everything a go as well and see. Oh,
definitely.
I suck at this. I'll move to the next one.
Or you're just having more fun. Having more fun.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the key.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, having fun was always the motivation and the inspiration for hip hop, and it's the only way you ever get good. Like, if I would see people come into the scene and they'd be like, oh, yo, I really, 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 really want to be a famous rapper, and it's like, oh, well, how many rhymes did you write this week? Like, none. It's like, well, why not? Obviously, if you loved it, you'd just be writing rhymes and not talking about wanting to be a rapper. And then the fun part is what makes you good, because if you're chasing something else, you're gonna get burnt out and you're just gonna give up. But if you love it and you have fun with it, you'll get good.
Joy of doing it.
exactly.
The joy of writing
Yeah.
bars, man.
And you'll do it, and 3 years later you'll be dope, or 2 years later you'll be
In
dope.
terms of
It takes a
motivation.
while.
Bro, you mentioned before photography.
Yeah.
So is that what you're into? Is that how you, I guess, you express yourself these days? Or express your creative flair these days, or?
Pretty much, yep. I've been doing music videos, and I do like
cool.
like I do like social media videos and online kind of media videos. Like I was at the She's Not Your Rehab launch, filming a video for the release of that, stuff like that, music videos, and then and then photography is like my hobby that kind of goes along with that, because I've got good cameras. And then in the weekend when I'm doing nothing, I'd start taking photos. And then I moved out to the country, and now I'm into kind of astrophotography and multi-astronomy and blending those things, kind of like the moon phases and matariki and anything to do with the stories of the stars I'm taking in the Māori context. So I might take a photo of a star, and then I'll be like, that's this in the Greek world, but then I'll research and find out what it means to Māori, and then like that. But then that's connected me closer to my culture, which is something that I'd been more of a hip hop head more than I was and more into hip hop culture than I was my own culture, Māori culture. But the photography lately has kind of got me into that buzz and got me thinking about how our ancestors used to look at the stars and the stories behind the stars and the navigation and telling the date, the time of the year by looking at the sun, moon, and stars, like being able to tell what day of the year it is by looking at the sun, moon, and stars, not necessarily a calendar and stuff. Photography has become a huge part of my life. Actually, I've actually just gotten into NFTs, which is like non-fungible tokens, which is like selling digital assets for the future of social media. So social media now is like, we're in this chat and there's three of us on a 2D screen, and in the future we'll actually be like in a room with goggles on, looking at each other as 3D, and you'll be in my room at my house, and I'll have all my artwork, I'll have music playing in the background, and the artwork that'll be in those backgrounds are the NFTs, the digital assets. So I might own a piece from an artist in America that only I'm allowed to display in my metaverse, which is like Web 3.0. And it's crazy because it's I've actually sold 3,500 New Zealand dollars worth of photos in 2 weeks, just in that space. It's like it's a crazy space, man, and it's really weird because it's all done with cryptocurrency, which fluctuates, and you can cash out whenever, but you could leave it in there, and whatever you're making can rise and fall each day with the cryptocurrency markets. But it's the future, and it's kind of like for me, I've always been into, like, there's a reason why I'm the old school dude in Christchurch for hip hop, and that's because I was first in. And same with the dancing, the DJing, the breakdancing, the crumping. Like, if you don't know, I was the OG of the crump scene in Christchurch, the OG of the b-boy scene, one of the OGs of the DJ scene, particularly the scratch DJ scene and the battles. And that's just, I'm always looking at what's next, and NFTs, non-fungible tokens, is next. The whole metaverse, Web 3.0, the blockchain, Bitcoin, and cryptocurrencies, that's the next shit. That's the next stuff to look out for. That's where there's going to be a lot of changes. They're going to, a lot of our lives are going to be certified on the blockchain instead of in courts and stuff. because it's just a better way to do things. But I won't get into that. But yeah, I'm kind of, that's where I'm at with my photography. It's a hobby. Like, I make my money with videos, and the photos I just put on Instagram and Facebook, and I don't make much money from them. Might sell a few calendars. See that photo that's up right now, that's listed as a non-fungible token for $2,500 on a website at the moment. And so it's kind of like, I found a place where I could possibly sell all these old photos. And the crazy part is I'm not selling the physical rights to that photo. I'm selling just the digital asset for the metaverse and Web 3.0. So I can still sell it as prints. I still own the copyright and the license for it. But in the digital space, I can make quite a lot of money. And if someone buys it off me and then sells it to the next person, I get 10% of whatever they sell it for. So no, for the rest of it, for all eternity, when something I made gets sold onwards, I get 10% of whatever sales keep going from it. So it's pretty interesting. It's pretty, it's definitely it's just been good to find somewhere to make money off these old photos, because they're all old. The ones I sold one yesterday for 1,400 New Zealand dollars $1,400 US yesterday. And I took it 6 months ago, and it was like just sitting on my hard drive, and I was like, I'll put this up, type in a cool description, gone.
Wow.
That's a different universe. You must be balling, mate. You must be balling.
Nah, I will be, but not yet. But there's the funny thing now is that there's actually like the first thing that popped off was digital art, and like the Bored Apes, the CryptoPunks, and then there was like graphic art, so just people creating cool graphic art. Now there's the rise of photography, so photographers are starting to make money. But next, it's like musicians, dancers, video makers. There's all these new audiences that are finding out about NFT, where there's a market, especially the music industry. The music industry is really slow to pick this up. And even, I don't know if you know, but Dan Carter has just started his own NFT company with a bunch of like old school music industry people. And so Dan Carter knows about it, and he's getting involved. And Steph Curry just brought a Bored Ape Yacht Club, which is just a photo of an ape, and you use it as your avatar on Twitter. But he paid like millions and millions of dollars for it, and it's just a but he's the only one who's allowed to use it for his, he's got the legitimate owner of the digital version of this picture of this ape, a cartoon ape. Yeah, wow. Steph Curry. So it's just kind of hitting semi-mainstream now. So it's something to look out for if you want to think about the future of like how you could, like, because technically you could sell tickets to the Hip Hop Summit, as NFTs, collectibles. You could make 10 tickets that are collectibles and sell them. But yeah, we could talk about that later, because I think it could get quite boring for anyone else listening. It's quite, because it's real. It's kind of
it's
like
interesting.
It is. And so definitely do some research. NFTs, non-fungible tokens. Look it up. Do some research.
Bro,
Trust me. You might have to do a workshop.
Research.
Yeah, well,
I can tell you that. It's cool though. It's cool to get some insight into where you're at. Real good to obviously hear about your foundations in hip hop and Y.C.D. And I guess even the fact that, like, I always only knew you as a DJ, but the fact that you obviously express yourself in every other element. That's me.
He's the gatekeeper.
No,
hey, bro, we're actually keen to keep you on board for the rest of the broadcast. Are you happy to stay on board, bro?
Yeah, bro. All good.
We're coming up with we're gonna bring Keza in soon.
Yeah.
old B-boy Kez.
Kbigs.
Kbigs.
Let's go.
It'd be
Kbigs.
good to have
Let's
you
go.
throw
Let's
some
go.
Hey,
chat.
boom, boom,
mate.
boom. Let me hear you say, well.
That's So for young people that might be tuned in and you don't know Kbigs, he's kind of big in the b-boy world, eh, Richie?
Yeah, man. Yep. Definitely one of the common ground boys, but an OG from those Y.C.D days. And you know, there's not a lot of like from those hundreds and hundreds of kids that used to come to Y.C.D. There's only a handful left that still b-boy, and Grub D, Keza, and those two in particular are the kind of OGs from that era. Because even Lee Rock was a year or so after them.
That's right.
And but even then he stuck at it like that whole time as well. So he's definitely got OG status as well. But yeah, definitely an OG in the b-boy scene now.
My man.
Yeah, even I would almost say like almost retired. He's not there. He should be online soon. It looks like he's having a little bit of trouble looking in. But I would have, if I didn't see him almost like 3 times weekly on Facebook broadcasting himself throwing down in his garage, I would have thought you still limber, eh?
Yeah, I know, man.
What's up,
yeah, what's up, man? It's good to be on here. Shot everyone. Thanks for having me on as well. Definitely Richie, the man, always the man. Actually, I was just talking about Richie just before about the crump scene and everything as well. How he was a pioneer for that, you know, he brought it in. And it's funny because I was talking to a lot of cats from Auckland. I went up there as a panel discussion talking about the culture of hip hop, and you know, being from Christchurch now in Wellington. I was telling all these crumpers, man, it's just like, yo, do you guys know Richie? They're just like, Richie? I was like, yeah, man, he was the first one to start, even before like Yak, you know. And they were blown away that Christchurch has such a rich culture of hip hop and how we all started, because none of them really hear about how we started and what we've brung, and being the most active crew as well, like Common Ground. It's like no one knows our history and what we've done. And so it's cool being here in Wellington as well to plant that seed and what we've done and where we're heading. From back in Y.C.D days and the Power Baptist Youth days, you know, what Richie was talking about is like hundreds of people, man, like dancing and for their first time experiencing what hip hop was, you know, and the culture about hip hop. I remember my brother Rangi was there, you know. I think you taught him at one point, Richie. You taught him. I remember he had wicked ground power, you know, and you know, he got me into dancing as well, you know, watching him with that's
right, yeah, he was early, him and all his little friends were hard out into it.
Were they called icebreakers from Aranui?
Foot soldiers? Nah.
Oh,
foot patrol? Foot patrol.
Yeah, because I remember they used to jam at home, like we lived back in the day in one of the state houses, and we used to have a wooden floor, so everyone used to come over and jam at our house when I was skating. And I remember him just throwing down and just like doing like rocks. Like I was like, man, this guy.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, he was good too. Like he was like aggressive. Yeah.
Do you
remember
a lot of those little Aranui boys were?
What's that? Sorry.
Do you remember Lawrence Edwards?
Yeah, Lawrence and all that, and Toei. Yeah, they were the. Actually, skipping it back, man. When I first, what's that?
I know, bro.
Yeah, they got into it. I don't even remember like Easter camp back in the day, like years ago. They used to have that Easter camp, that big Christian event, camp, whatever it was. And my first exposure to it was seeing Lucas and Toei getting down doing footwork to Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
And that was my first time seeing it, and I was just like, man, what is this?
I used to like Lawrence because he was like, Lawrence was stocky as because he was like,
but he could move, man. Like I was inspired, man, straight away, because I was like, sorry, what were you gonna say?
Lawrence was cool as well because he was our only connection to the old school, like the actual old school. Like I wasn't an old school head. I was like one of the. Well, I wasn't young, but I wasn't old, and he was a connection to the 80s, especially for Christchurch, because we had no connection to our hip hop kind of elders, and he was the
Yep.
only one, so he was a good person to meet along the way.
Yeah, that's right, man.
New life, don't forget.
Yeah, he had so much history
Yeah.
because I remember when I first met him, I was so intimidated because when I first went to one of their practices, me and my brother Hubs and Rangi, we went to their practice and there would have been about 15, 16 people dancing, and I remember Shannon and all that were there, and I remember Lawrence came up to us and was like, "How bro, where you from?" And I told him, "Oh, I'm from Aranui," and he's just like, "Oh man, so good to have you guys here. Don't feel intimidated. Come hang out. We're good. We've got a lot of people in there." And just how he introduced me to the scene was just like straight away was love. I was like, man, you actually think I'm something, And so just being a part of that really got me involved in that as well at a young age. And then from that point on, I just never stopped dancing. I kept dancing. It's been like almost 21 years, from that.
And
then, yep.
Oh, and also, just to touch on that part with Lawrence and Toei and the church was the birth of Common Ground.
Yep.
I just left Blitz Crew, and we were all dancing together, and we kind of decided to start up a crew, and the vibe before that was quite aggressive. Like Blitz Crew and Rockefeller used to nearly have fights when they were battling. And it was almost like a blue versus red thing. It was because Blitz Crew were hard out blue from Aranui, kind of swayed towards the Crip side and stuff. And then, it's true. And then, but they were quite aggressive, and it was quite secretive. So they wouldn't go and practice at Y.C.D anymore because they didn't want people biting their moves. And I left Blitz Crew and I was dancing more with Common Ground, and there were two things that we were about, and that was inclusion and being positive and also footwork. So those were the two things. Like we were heavily into culture, like as far as like just letting everyone come along, but and then footwork, style and footwork were, so everyone was more about power, how many air flares to windmills to headspins, and we were like, let's just, and then that's the reason why I feel like Common Ground got, because Grub D was like the king of footwork in New Zealand for a long time, and that it was kind of like that. Because Toei, Lawrence, and that they like the footwork stuff as well, and Shannon, D. Can't say D's name the way we used to say it anymore because we'll get cancelled. N-word D. Sorry, Keza, you were saying?
Oh no, I was just saying, just exactly. I remember like at the Ferns and all that. Even before that, when like Blitz were battling or they were performing, I used to go and see them. I was just like, man, these guys look like Rock City, And I think it's cool what you started at that time as well, especially with Blitz Crew, because it was only like Common Ground, then it was Blitz Crew, then it was Rockefeller, and it was like it was like head to head with that. And then I think kind of Blitz kind of like died out a bit. Rockefeller then eventually kind of died out, and we just keep dancing, because I think my thing was that like once I got into it. It's like for me, like once I get into something, I go 100%. But it's like the passion behind it and what it got me out of, stuck with me, and that's why I'm still doing it today. And that's why I've built like a school, doing events and all that kind of stuff, because I love the aspect of, you lose yourself in the dance, but not only that, like you find yourself in the dance as well. And I think that's why I've kept at it so long, and I started up the live feeds from at home, because back then when I was like a solo daddy. I couldn't go out and bring the kids out, so I started live feeds at home, and then that became a thing, and it just went viral. And then people from Australia started doing it, live streaming, and then me and Davey would do it regular at home, and then I started doing it here and all this kind of stuff. And the whole thing was like, no matter where we are, what we're doing, I want the outlet to always be such a positive outlet for me. If I'm angry, if I'm happy, if I'm sad, to create that platform for me, for others can be inspired by that as well. Especially when people say, I can't do it anymore, I don't want to do it anymore. And for different reasons, that's cool. But for me, it's always been just like a love relationship with breaking, and why I do it, why I'm doing it, and why I'm doing it today still,
Bro, tell us about mate, you, Indo, Grub D, Leroy, like, Common Ground, and when you guys were pumping, like, like how many world stages did you compete on?
Oh, there's quite a lot. Like I think we've done like Germany, like Battle of the Year. We did all that. Personally, myself, I went overseas heaps. I traveled overseas and went to like Germany, Korea, LA, Singapore. Just getting the buzz of it all in New York City. I actually went to New York City to Jamaican Queens, and in my Facebook I got pictures of it, and I set up some cardboard lino out there, bro. And I was doing breaking in the neighborhood just to know what it felt like, because I wanted to know the history and the culture of what I got into. So I was out there breaking, bro, and everyone from the neighborhood came out, and everyone was around, and we had this massive cipher, and I was meeting graph writers and all that kind of stuff. And all the kids came up to me and they said to me, you know, if we had this in our lives, we wouldn't be in gangs. Crazy, eh? Like, if we had this in our lives, we wouldn't be gangs, we wouldn't be slinging. These are like young kids too, bro. Like, I would have been about like 18, 19. And these guys were young, bro. And so I think common ground, and too, like, you've got Acorn and all that, like, winning comps in Australia and traveling overseas. He's been to Germany, everywhere. I think all separately, we've done like big things overseas. Like, this hasn't been televised or anything like that, you know? I mean, look at Acorn.
Yeah.
That guy's a monster, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Such a humble guy, but such a hungry guy as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. So, world title, the 3-on-3 hip-hop event. Boys won that. Who was it? Grub, Lee Rock, and Bebo. They won it. Like an international comp, you know? And it's funny because it's like a lot of the time it hasn't been televised, or a lot of the time it hasn't been like talked about. You know, but like what Richie was saying before as well earlier on, the whole thing of being professional, what you do, and been doing things like real smart as well. I think back then we didn't have a manager or anything like that, so a lot of things I reckon we could have done like a million times better as well.
Not just that. I mean, because the unfortunate thing about, by the time that stuff was kicking off internationally, is I noticed when I was on What Now around 2005, 2006, those same kids that used to come to our skate jams and our b-boy events turned emo and were going, hip hop sucks. They all, that same audience that brought the numbers and the kind of like the reasons why you'd get televised, had left, and now the once those numbers dropped, the media just stopped picking up on it, and social media hadn't got to the point where we could broadcast it ourselves, which is the beautiful part now. Is if you guys were doing that and going overseas and doing that now, but that all happened within this kind of grey area of the media didn't really care, and we couldn't really push it hard enough on social media. Maybe a manager based in Auckland who could have like pushed for it to happen more in those those things, because we were lucky to kind of have Tūhono and stuff down here where they'd get Grub D and Lee Rock on to do some b-boying every now and then, but it just as far as like being able to utilize all of your guys' talents and it was just hard, and it never happened. And it's just partly that it's Christchurch, not Auckland, but partly also because it's New Zealand, not America.
For sure.
But then America moved on too. Like you said, like by the time hip hop like b-boying in America is not cool. It's it'll be TikTok dancing now, but before that it would have been crumping or hi-fi or house dancing.
For sure.
All these different phases of these different styles. But they left breakdancing in the 80s, but the cool thing is there's those other pockets around the world, like Europe and there's other places where you can like Russia now is going through its like
it's insane, bro.
Big first wave and stuff and all that, and but even like cool countries in Asia and Europe where there are audiences for what we do, but kind of the OG's original place who were trying to impress and want to acknowledge us, America, they're not even about that anymore. They're into I don't know what the latest style of dancing kind of is. I guess it's light feet kind of stuff. That stuff's what's considered that and TikTok dancing,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is which isn't a style. It's short choreography of other styles.
It's been like lots of African dancing at the moment, eh?
Yeah, dancehall and Afrobeat stuff. Yep, that's big. I think Light Feet's quite big still, and even some hyphy stuff. Jersey Club. There's heaps of styles out there.
I think what's crazy as well is that. Yep.
Indo message saying Red Bull BC1.
Yeah. Red Bull BC1.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Was that like a comp or was that a?
Oh, Red Bull BC1. I mean, that's massive. They had it here in New Zealand for a while, and then it just kind of stopped as well. It just kind of died out.
And that was usually Grub D versus Acorn most of the years, wasn't it?
Yeah,
they used to win it. They used to win it. Like when I was in Auckland, I'd go to it, and it would be either one of those two winning it.
Oh yeah, easily. They'll just take it out. It'd be like a trip overseas and stuff like that, like 24/7, and it became like that. But what's funny is that this is what I reckon is quite crazy is that you're talking about like in the early '80s where it was like real big and stuff like that, and then it kind of like got to the point where it like slowly died out, and now it's like slowly coming back in. But you get a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's dead" and stuff like that, but crazy thing in Wellington, like when I came up here, I started up Cool Kids Play Hard, and we have over like 50 students, bro, like that are active in the scene, that are like have the knowledge, have the understanding of the culture of hip hop, but not only that, they have the understanding of our crew Common Ground and the history of Common Ground as well, and the history of Christchurch. So like if one of my boys were at an event and they come up and they're like, "Oh, there's Richie," they would know who he was. You know what I mean? And I think that's what's missing around as well. Like we're striving in Wellington, and we did an event called Pinnacle Wars recently. Me and my partner did it, and we had over 500 people there, and it's the first big event in Breaking for over like 5 years that's actually happened, and the whole thing was focused around the younger generation. So we had all of our students entering and all that, and there was less adults, but the adults came and all that. But my focus was about the young kids, because I've always been about bringing up a younger generation, and man, they were killing it, bro. Like I'll send you guys some clips as well about with the event, but these young kids in that were just like on a whole new level, bro. And it reminded me of back in the day when Y.C.D used to do their battles, and we used to always battle against Rockefeller, and just the atmosphere of like looking around and you just seeing all these new people for the first time, and that environment what they created was like next level. And when we did it, I was just like, bro, this reminds me of Y.C.D. This reminds me of a Power Baptist when we used to battle, and the atmosphere was so pumped up. Like if you did like a whack move or whatever, everyone still went nuts, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, damn! He almost broke his neck, but damn!
But that's a testament to you, bro. That's you. You've put in a lot of, it's you being ready, because you put in all that hard work, and part of it will be that breakdancing's getting more popular, but a lot of it will be that they've seen you've made it popular. Just like, and you're kind of doing what I did back in the day. Like Y.C.D breakdancing wouldn't have even gone to Y.C.D if I hadn't have gone there and
very true.
done the groundwork. So when it blew up, you know. So let's say, for example, I don't know, Ariana Grande drops a video tomorrow and it's got breakdancing in it, and then the whole world goes, "Oh shit, breakdancing!"
For real.
In Wellington, you'll be the guy. That'll be the place to go to. There'll be no one in Christchurch. There'll be no one in Auckland. I don't know if Kent still does his thing in Auckland, but I don't think so. And so it's that they often say that luck is when preparation meets opportunity, and preparation is what you're doing. Opportunity is if it blows up again. But what you're doing anyway, because you naturally have that personality that kids are going to be like, oh yeah, this is fun, this is cool. You've got your own kids at that same age, and you've had kids that same age, so you know how to talk to them, you know how to cultivate them. Parents are going to be like, I just want to get my kid off their screens. Take their, so keep doing it, bro, and it'll probably, because the thing that people get down about sometimes is the numbers game and that. And what I've realized, I've been into this game probably 30 years, and what I've seen is that things go in cycles, and sometimes You know, sometimes they go really. It's just like any kind of stock or trade or anything. It peaks and it troughs and it goes up and down. And
For sure.
if you're ready, it can just pay off. It can be, you know, then not that it's all about the money and the numbers, but it could be cool when it happens. But bro, you're doing amazing, bro. Keep it up. It's dope.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, appreciate it.
Well, Keza,
Yep.
When you think, like, you know, you think about b-boying, like, obviously it's a form of like body contortion. You think small profile, I guess, like Lee Rock and Grub D.
Yep.
But like, you're 6'3", 6'3".
6'3", baby.
There's nothing better than a long-legged flare, man. Like,
2C, baby, tall crew. 2C.
But how hard is it? How hard is it for a tall guy, bro?
I
always feel like it's easier for the little guys.
Yeah. Well, I just feel like in my mindset is I'm one of those guys that it's like, if I see something, then I can do it. Like there hasn't been, I've not really cared about what other people think in a way, you know, like how a lot of people say, oh, you know, he's tall and gammy. And I play that trick hard, bro. If I'm battling, I pretend I'm tall and gammy. If people don't know who I am, I will literally look real whack in the corner. So people look at me and they're like, oh, yeah, sweet, I've got him. And then when I go into a battle, I just smoke them straight away because I just know I can look in their eyes. And I'm quite an aggressive dancer. Like I'm real aggressive when I'm on the floor. But yeah, like anything, man, like I train in general. Like nowadays, I train in general for fitness and for teaching because I'm not going to teach something that I don't train myself, you know? So I'm big at that. And part of it as well was that my partner, she's like a PT, so she does a lot of personal training. So stuff to keep my body in shape and other people in shape as well, like mentally and physically, you know, dieting and stuff like that for longevity has been key for me. And it's been awesome, man. Like in over 21 years, I've got a bit of a knee injury now, but that's the first biggest injury I've had in over 21 years because I've really looked after my body and maintained real good stuff like stretching, flexibility, you know, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think for a lot of tall people as well, like you see them, they look real gammy as, like when they try to top rock or they do footwork, it's like their knees are to their eyes. They're like, it's like Big Bird on steroids, you know? But I don't think size matters, man. I think like anything, if you have a good mindset and you train hard, it's like, you know, you can do it. And I think that's always been my thing. If I can't afford it, then I'll learn how to do it and I'll make that money. You know, that's been my kind of mindset. At a young age as well. So the creative side of things as well, like Richie was saying, like not only dance, you know, acting and all that kind of stuff as well I do. Just because I know for a while I'll dance up to a certain point and then after that my body will give out or whatever, but I've always got things on the side as well that I'm building up as well. So it's not just one thing all the time, you know. But I think it's key to do that. A lot of people just stick at one thing and then it's like something happens and they're out and it's like they've got nothing to fall back on. You know, so I think it's cool. Like Richie was saying, this currency thing, I want to check out as well. You know, it's like, it's quite cool. It's quite cool what's out there. And I think, you know, you got to be real smart as well, how you do things. And like what Richie said before, it's a long-term game. Like I started with 4 students, you know, now I've got privates during the week and, you know, talk about that financial thing. It's like, I'm making good, you know, but not only that, it's because of the longevity and how I did it and how I strategized how to do things, you know, doing private lessons, turning my shed into a studio, you know, doing little things like that. And so, you know, I think if you've got a good mindset and you do it well and you do it smart, you know, it's looking good for you, man. So I went off the subject.
Do you reckon it would have worked out the same in Christchurch? Or do you reckon because of where you are?
Well, yeah, to be honest, man, like I had a good gig going in Christchurch. I was doing events and all that. And I had a real good, like, I was youth facilitator for over like 8 years. So I was doing mentoring programs and stuff with hip hop and all that. But Wellington for me was good because I didn't know no one in Wellington. I knew Specs and all that. But for me, it was like, I think if it's different mindset, like when you shift to different places, you got to have that mindset on things are going to be hard at the start. And then eventually you'll grow into where you're meant to be. But I went there, to be honest, man. I went there going, man, this shit's going to be easy. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to do these events. I'm going to do this and this. Nothing happened for over 1.5 years, man. I was just like, man, what's going on? You know, like this ain't like Christchurch. And then I realized it's different. So then I had to adapt to what was going on, change bits and pieces and how I approach things. And then now it's like, it's game over, man. You know what I mean? But yeah, a lot. Richie doesn't notice, but I follow him a lot, man. I watch him a lot and how he does things. And I watched how he switched into what he was doing. And in my mind, I'm just like, exactly. He's on it, man. Because that's how I was thinking of, like, just always keeping up to date and always doing something that's different, but maintaining your values and how you do things as well. You know.
Hey, Keza, are you able to give us a quick breakdown on the Olympic stuff with B-Boy?
Yeah. So I'm part of New Zealand Aotearoa New Zealand Breaking Association, and that's a committee for the Olympics. But you got a few cats like Kent and all that are heading it up. But there's been no movement at the moment. So we're still waiting to hear how things are going to roll out. And then from that, because I'm part of a chat as well, then people just drip feed stuff. So for an example, it's like, this is the criteria that's going to be happening. We don't know if it's a point system yet. You know, if you win a certain amount of events, then you have all these points. And then eventually, if you have the most points, you win. I think there's a theory going around for that. But to be honest, man, no one knows what's going on at the moment. And we're still waiting to hear. And once we wait to hear, then we can start getting things going. But we're actually really slow at it. I don't know what's going on. I think because Dance School New Zealand or whatever has come on the committee. But people are still slow about it. And I think, to be honest, it's kind of strange because it's like we're the only active ones, actually Common Ground in general is the only active ones. My thing would be like, in my mind right now, would be like Acorn would be like a prime example for New Zealand to represent because he's young, he's fit, he's like insane, he's been overseas heaps, he's got it. Like Lerock as well, you know, there's a lot of things going, but at the moment we're just still on that, so we're just waiting to hear. And I'm training up students in general anyway. Like it's another 2 years away, 2004. So like, 226 at the Paris Olympics. So we're training, man, but we're just like everyone else, man. We're just waiting to hear. And once we do, then I want to try apply for funding and stuff and make this a full-time career as in like training up young people, you know, for the Olympics and all that kind of stuff and try to get into it. But I feel Common Ground should be like the first contact of all that because we've been around the most and we're active with doing things. Who else around New Zealand is doing what we're doing, you know?
Yeah.
And we've got knowledge. We've got like Richie. We've got everyone back home that can jump in and give knowledge and history and all that, you know, because I think people get so focused on what it is and they forget about their community and what they're building. It's like, oh, cool. You know, we can go to the Olympics, but how's your community? Is it striving? Is it active?
Yeah.
You know, people forget about that, I feel, you know. Anyway, that's how it is.
2 years is a long time, bro. A lot can change, you know. There's injuries.
Things change. Yep.
Someone can go from loving like being an average b-boy to being God mode in 6 months just for something clicks in their head and they're young. If they're a teenager and something clicks in their head and they just go, it's game over because they just so yeah, you know, that's the thing is just keep doing it, bro. Keep going hard and you know you'll be undeniable as far as like you said they should be talking to the Common Ground as far as that stuff goes. No offense to whoever's on that board, but it's kind of like
for sure
that's those types of things though, because that's representing your country, so they've got to go through a lot of kind of government corporate type ways of doing things, but
definitely
but the skill's undeniable, and that's what you know at the performance level it'll be Common Ground or one of your students or you know people that are putting in that work. It won't go on a performance level of who goes. It won't be like who's connected to you know, because
definitely
they'll just get cancelled by the scene. Everyone will go, nah, I'm gonna go battle that kid. That kid can't go. I'm gonna go battle him.
Yeah.
Speaking of battles, best b-boy battle you ever been to, Keza? Anywhere?
Oh man, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna throw it back, man. This is a long time ago, but one of my best battles I was in as well. It was, I don't know if you remember this, Richie. It was Jess put on this event at North City. It was called Boost, and it was Rockefeller versus Common Ground.
Damn.
It was so hype. It was insane. There would have honestly been about 400 to 500 people all around in this small cipher. This is when Davey almost got concussed because he went into an airflare and landed on his head.
Bro, I don't even remember that one.
Yeah, that battle. I think someone's got it on VHS. We're trying to get everything together on like digital form so we can send out. But Stevie's saying haha because he knows about that event. But I think my brother Hubs did Albert Airfleet at Wimble, and he went up into McElnaught's face and kind of pushed him. And they pushed back, and then his mum jumped up and was yelling stuff. And then just the whole thing erupted, man. And I was just like, shit, this is it, man. This is
not
it.
Let's go, baby. Not mum.
Yeah. But that kind of environment for me. But like, if we're looking at battles like a one-on-one, probably one of my best battles that I remember was Grub D versus Dujon. It was back in the day when they were both super fit, like super young. And I remember at that point,
was that in Welly?
Yeah, it was in Welly.
At Body Rock.
Oh man, he carved them. Grub D was on fire. But I just remember Dujon, he looked in his book, and at that time people used to write sets in their book, right? And we used to laugh about it because we used to kick their books in it. But anyway, he was doing that, and Davey came out and just rocked a set. And I just remember seeing Davey like dancing, and at that point for my time watching him was just like, this guy is like untouchable. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's on an international level. And just remember him, just that fire and just him steering through him was just like, that's like...
Yeah, boy.
You know, like, I highly regard out of our crew, Davey, hands down, because just his character, his energy, and what he's done for the scene is like... I always say to him, man, I mean, you inspire me all the time, man. Like, just what he brings. And you've seen him, Richie, you've seen him in action, like, big killer, like, super big killer, man. Like, who can go against him when he's on point? You know what I mean? Like, every single beat, exactly. He just like, he breaks down everything. And so for me, that was the point there. Just look at those arms. That was the point that I seen him was just like, he's incredible. And he's done a lot for the scene as well, man. Like, he's a hardworking dude, but he's always ready to like perform or be a part of something in a heartbeat, and that's what I love about him.
Yeah, man. You're right about that God mode that he reached when he was battling back then, and he just stared straight through people, and he
was scary, man.
Because I remember him when he first started coming to Y.C.D. when he was like 12 or something. He was just like a little kid, and he's just like a kid, and then he was popping, and Lucas used to battle him at the skate jams, and then a few years later he's God mode B-boy dude, and I remember because I'd left. I think I'd left Christchurch by then, and I was doing. It was like 2005. I was still in Christchurch, and he just leveled up so much, but I hadn't seen him dance for like 2 years or something.
Yep.
And then I seen him, and he was just at God mode level, and it was like, because he was just tearing people to shreds. The characteristics of the way he danced, and he's just had his own kind of character and personality mixed with beat killing and power and the best footwork in the country and stuff. And,
easily.
And just you just become so proud of like common ground in general. Actually, like just when I used to see Common Ground take out everyone nationally, like Flesh Maze and shit, I'd just be like, yeah, boy. or anyone taking out like the Wellington Cats, and it would be like, Grub D took out these guys, and Grub D took out this. It's like, oh shit. You
guys know Grub D well. When when I think of B-boy, like I think about you guys must take on some sort of performance persona, or like dancing persona. Is his cheeky, bro? Because he's quite cheeky, His mannerisms sometimes like when
he's got a lot of things, man. He's real cheeky, but he's real aggressive as well.
Really confident.
Why he got his name Grub D is because he was always grubby and stuff. Like when he was eating stuff, it's always on his t-shirt and stuff. And I'm like looking at him, I'm like,
on his face.
Like clean your top, man. Like who wears a white top and eats a pie? And his feet are flat. It's real funny. It's one time he stayed the night at my house, and I said, you ain't get into that bed until you wash your feet, man. It smells like you got salt and vinegar chips up in here.
Wow.
Like,
Keza dropping the bombs, man.
Flat feet and it's hairy. It's like, who has flat feet and hairy? Actual Lord of the Rings, that little guy?
Yeah, the Hobbit.
Frodo.
Yeah. So I reckon, everyone gets given everyone gets given a name, you know, and you come up to it. But I just remember Dave's early start, like when he used to dance, he used to do these real weird moves. And his finger was like, man, that's some weird moves he's doing. But then eventually he didn't care, and then that's how we created the style. Like when you don't care and you do, like my boy, he's 6 Nash, and he's similar to Davey. Like he's really good at hitting the beat, and he moves real good, and he doesn't care, and that's what makes him dangerous, because it's like he's got his foundation, but man, when he hears the music, it's like he goes into that persona or goes into that place where it's like it's undeniable that he's got it in him, you know, like, and I like that. That's what Davey is. It's just like, you know, and he's teaching now as well, so that's cool because he brought us some students for our event. He brought up 4 students, and they were awesome, man, like real powery and stuff like that. And then it was good too because everyone's seen my students that I've been teaching, because no one had seen my students. It's only online. And man, nasty, yeah. So next year, everyone's training hard for the next Pinnacle War as well. But not only that, who got the Hip Hop Summit coming up as well? I mean, man, you know, what drove you to get that back up and running?
Kind of what you said, Kez, with just getting our young people back on, like giving them something positive to do. We've got so many kids that, you know, hip hop's a part of youth culture, whether they know it or not. Like
100%.
You know, they're into rap music, they're into dancing, they're into all that stuff, but they've never been taught anything properly, or they've never had direction.
Big time, man.
As far as, so I think for our scene and for young, like, you know, young people are getting stabbed at parties and
massively,
stealing cars and dying from cop chases and stuff like that.
Yeah. If
they're not into sport, then, you know, what else is there out there for them to do? And they're already into hip hop.
Yeah.
It's about re-educating them, and in order to get them into it, I felt that there needed to be something like a summit, something that we can create a massive buzz around to kind of pull them back in.
Yeah, I think it's true, man. It's what that whole thing about having a place to go, because I think New Zealand in general is so fixated on rugby and league and all that kind of stuff. And don't get me wrong, that's amazing and stuff like that. But, you know, you talk to how many people, how much hip hop has saved them, you know, like, and not only that, the whole thing of educating, because for myself, like, I'm big on the education of what I'm into. And so if I'm going to Auckland or Wellington, I'm talking to these cats about pioneers and stuff like that, right? For an example, they're like, oh, what? Like, who's that guy? And I'm like, bro, you've been breaking for over 10 years? Yeah. And you don't know this person or that scene. And I think it's vital for our young ones, because all they see is like rap videos and all this kind of stuff, and they think that's hip hop. You know what I mean? Like they think, you know, you grabbing a piece or you disrespecting the woman in a way is like, that's how it is. But when they see, like, play an example, this neighborhood that I live in, right? I got parents coming out like, oh, what's breakdancing? Is that rap dancing? I said, what's rap dancing? What is rap dancing, right? I used to say it all the time. I used to do it on interviews. Yeah, I'm a rap dancer. You know, it's this whole thing of like, they never understood. But when I told them about the culture, then they understood. And that's why they invest their kids in, because most of the kids that get invested, their parents are like, they get educated as well, because I educate them as well. So I'm just like, you know, for an example, we do half an hour or an hour session. For the young ones, we do half an hour. For an hour, we do for the older ones. And I said, okay, for your homework, find out where breaking started, and then come back next week. And so they come back next week. Okay, cool. So who were some of the pioneers in New Zealand? Okay, go do your homework and then come back next week. Nice. And so, you know, they have an understanding. But my main focus is about Christchurch, because I'm bringing what I bring on my shoulders to these kids. So now they understand the culture of what the hip hop scene is in Christchurch. It's like, oh, you teach like this. Oh, okay, cool. I understand.
Yeah.
You know, so, yep.
So I suppose, the main thing that I really wanted to get was engagement with young people in general.
Yep.
And I guess the other thing was, you know, it's a Christchurch Hip Hop Summit. I didn't go with the ultra at all, although I got Ali and Severe's blessing.
Wicked.
I thought, we've got an awesome scene in our own city. Why do we need to? Obviously, it's open to everyone, but like we've got a strong scene that no one knows. Like you said, like how is Common Ground not getting massive sponsorships from winning world titles and titles? Like, what do you have to do to get people to take you seriously? So I think a summit which can bring all of our scene together and promote what we do. hopefully we can, get that wider audience for all the
Big time.
elements and show that it's a positive culture that for our young people.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and that's what I've been doing in Wellington, man. And that's why the movement has started up. Like, for an example, we had Swerve come to our event, and we got him to judge. And he goes, "Man, you know what's real tripping?" I was like, "What's that?" He goes, "This hall, what we're doing in, is the first." Oh, there he is. Is the first. They started touring, and their first thing was at this hall where I started the event. And he said, "This is history, man, because you've restarted something where I kind of started." So it was quite cool.
Nice.
And I'm always about culture, and I always bring my sense of humor into it. I play games with it and do it. I teach so differently. But the fact is exactly what you said, bro. It's just like where you're at, where your community's at, is where you build,
Yeah.
So I'm excited about the Hip Hop Summit because I was talking to Juice a while ago, ages ago, about he wanted to do like a Hip Hop Summit or start something up in Wellington as well. And I was like, it's dope that, where your roots are is where you start, where you establish, and people will come. Like, I can't wait for it, man. Like, I want to come back and see all the old faces, It's going to be dope.
And to get Christchurch City Council on board, it's taken like nearly 2 years to get the boxes ticked. Breaking down those barriers, bro, and like finally they've kind of come on board, but it took a long time, man.
Yeah, Richie will know what it's like.
Yeah, they're pretty much the same thing, old way of thinking. Is that rap dancing? Does the rap dancing have guns?
Hard out.
They still think the same, man.
Yeah.
So,
and unfortunately, councils changed quite a lot over the years. We had people in council who we had to initiate into the hip hop world, but we also had allies in there who were already dealing with Pacific Underground and dealing with Y.C.D. So we just kind of tagged our stuff on to that, like the Little Caesar Willpower gig that was funded through Y.C.D. Not me doing anything. That was Annie had money from creative communities to do an event, and she just let me use the funds for that. So it was but councils change, and you got a whole bunch of new people in there, and then you've got to onboard them, and it's different because we had the benefit of it being a lot more mainstream. Like it had, there were places in Auckland like Youth Town that were doing stuff that was televised.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. Yep.
And so when we said we could do it too, they're like, "Oh yeah, because Norm's doing it at Youth Town. Yeah, you could just do it at YCD. We get it."
Yep.
But now it's like if there's only Keza and there's only Red, like there's no other hip hop summits, there's no other b-boy workshops like what you're doing. It's almost like now you've got to do all the onboarding yourself. But it'll happen. All you've got to do is be patient and explain it to them, and then when they get it, they'll get it, and then you won't have to explain it again. But don't ever give up because you got the right idea. It's just about onboarding those people.
Yeah, we've got some good people at council now, though. It's pretty good.
Yep, that's good. I'm gonna have to plug my phone in and charge it.
Boys, I'm actually gonna
change my headphones.
I mentioned earlier we caught up with Sid Diamond during the week, so we're gonna play that. We're gonna play that in a couple of minutes, but just wanted to thank both of you for making the time to jump on our live stream and give our young people and all the anyone that's tuned in really some insight into obviously how you've contributed to hip hop in Christchurch and even New Zealand no less over the years, and real cool to hear your connections to YCD as well. It's been awesome. And obviously also looking forward to seeing you guys and connecting at the Hip Hop Summit later on this year.
Definitely, bro. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for inviting both of us. I just want to shout out Indo, Steve, Tommy T, Pace Rock, Josh Collier, Sean Asi, just in the chat there.
Yeah.
just saw some people in the comments, and I was like, oh, yo, what's up? I'm looking forward to seeing everyone at this event as well. Like, that's
hard out, man.
You know, I don't get out much, so it's. I really, really look forward to events where I can catch up with everyone at once. And then I'll be like, okay, see you next year, because it's kind of like, or else I have to come into town every 2 weeks to meet everyone, but just to see everyone at this hip hop summit is going to be awesome.
There'll be so many like you, though. You know, that don't. We're just at that age now. We don't get out that much. And, brushing off the cobweb. Brush the cobwebs off those Mr. Henrys, mate.
Hey, quickly,
bro, hard. I still dance too, so you know it's on.
Still dance. Hey, Keza.
Yeah.
With b-boying being in the Olympics now, do you think that it's something that they'd introduce into schools and is in PE and stuff?
Oh, I hope so. I think people are still, like I said, New Zealand's a little bit behind on it all, but I think if it's like boom official, you know, like New Zealand's got now a b-boying team for the Olympics and stuff like that, I think people would jump on, and I'm not too sure, but I'd love it, because people still ask people, you know, what do you reckon about breaking the Olympics? And it's like, oh, you know, I think it shouldn't be in there. And it's like, that's a whack ass attitude, man. Like, you know what I mean? Still people don't know what it is, you know? So we hope that we can inspire other people to do this into different communities as well, even people watching this as well. Different people, if you're out there watching and stuff like that, and you're a b-boy, you're active in the scene, man, start bringing up a younger generation, because, you know, without doing what we're doing, how is it supposed to grow? You know what I mean? We can talk about it, and we can train about it. We can do cool events. But if you're not bringing up anyone underneath you, man, what's the point of doing what you're doing? Because our talent is to give it to everyone else and for them to grow it as well. It's the each one teach one philosophy. Keep doing it, keep building the scene. And I just want to give a big shout out for you guys for putting me on here and just sharing a bit about what I do and all the rest of it. But for everyone out there that's listening, that's been a part of the scene, make sure you go along to the Hip Hop Summit. Make sure you support it. Make sure you bring your friends and your family, and just skill them up, man, because a lot of people think they know about hip-hop. They don't know nothing about hip-hop. Make sure you come to the Hip Hop Summit. It's going to be fire, and I can't wait to see everyone throw down. It's going to be wicked. Man, I'm excited, man. It's going to be wicked. Man. So, yeah.
I can't wait for the panel discussions and stuff too, which you guys will be a part of.
Yeah, wicked. I can't wait. Oh, there it is. Let's go.
Bro. Keen as.
Yeah, hard out.
Holler if you ever need anything.
Yeah, man.
I need everything.
Just holler, bro. Just holler.
I'll give you a holler soon. Actually.
Sweet,
I need some NFTs, eh?
Yeah, bro. Yeah. I'll come to a workshop about NFTs. Bro, it's next level, bro.
Yeah, man. Today was trying to get me onto it.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to look at it as well.
Chch should be selling music as NFTs, and anyone who does any kind of artwork or music or video, like if you're a dancer, you could make NFT videos. It's just it's just definitely something to look into and keep your mind open about, because I didn't really believe it until I'd sold some and then cashed out, and I'm like, oh, it turns into real money. Damn.
Yeah,
it was all just like, is this magic money? Is this cryptocurrency? But then I sold some photos, transferred it into real money, and I was like, oh, it's real money. Yes. Okay.
Out, man. Yeah,
let's go. Yeah, bro. Holler in my DMs if you ever need to talk.
Yeah, I will do.
Slide in,
bolts.
Oh yes, please.
There's the Keza we know and love.
There's the Keza we know. That's the Keza we all know.
Thanks, boys.
Chop, boys.
Big grand.
Chop, catch us up. Peace.
Take care. Peace.
Yo.
Nice. Very informative conversation with two pioneers
some old heads,
of our dancing. Yeah,
bro.
I like that one. Big ups to everyone that's on here. Josh, haven't seen Josh in ages. Hope you're well, bro. What's up, Docs? Max? Oh, LT. LT's on there, son.
Bro, he's got
some OG.
LT's got hip hop knowledge, bro.
Yeah, hard.
Knowledge.
What's up, Leah? What's up, Stevie? I like what Stevie said here. Inspire before expire. Nice. What's up, Hayden? What's up, Muli?
So that's that's it for I guess the deferred episode of Fresh About Life, which we obviously were originally going to have on Friday. But hopefully everybody's enjoyed the hip hop edition of Fresh About Life. As I said earlier, it hasn't finished yet. We got our interview with Sid Diamond, coming up next. And it was real cool, eh? Hey, Danielle, it was real cool.
It is. And we'll leave it up too, because I took the other one down. So we'll leave the Sid Diamond interview up for people to watch in their own time.
Red, do you want to give your Hip Hop Summit a final plug to see us out, eh?
Yep. So Hip Hop Summit, Christchurch Hip Hop Summit is happening in Christchurch City, December the 9th, 10th and 11th this year. So in a couple of months' time. It's going to have showcase performances, exhibition battles, panel discussions, keynote speakers, Q&As, workshops, anything to do with the hip-hop culture will be at the summit. Hopefully we can get our city behind it. It is open to the whole country, but it's in Christchurch, so hopefully we'll see everyone there. Most of it, or 90% of it, will be a free event, so that's always good. Promo. Check out the Hip Hop Summit Facebook page for more information. I think Dan can put the link up there when he has time to find it. And big ups to everyone for tuning in.
Shottles, right? Enjoy the rest of your Sabbath.
Hold up, Sid. Just before we leave, on another topic, big games tonight. What's happening? What's happening with the games, man? AB's got Argentina.
You know it. Let's just go
without
saying,
win?
Man.
Is it? That's what they said last year, but then they lost.
I don't mean to come across. Yeah, true. Fair enough. Yeah, fair comment. No. AB's, man. AB's by... I just think the Pumas haven't had much action, bro. And I guess, like you say, similar to last year's scenario.
Well, they had no action last year too.
Yeah.
Hopefully the ABs pull through. You never know. It could be a Pumas Wallabies upset. Who knows? In this funny game of rugby we have.
AB's by 18.
18? That's pretty confident.
Yeah.
I'll say
Box by 18.
By this. I'll say the Box will be similar by about 20.
The Box are going to rinse them, aren't they?
Oh, it's hard to say. Different. It's hard to say. But I'm not sure. I did. Dan, what are your thoughts? Thoughts on the game? These AB's hard. I know his mic's on.
Dan doesn't even know who's playing.
I did watch the.
Yo.
I did watch the French 14 last night, and those French halves, Dupont and Romain Intermac. Honestly, I think those guys are going to be amazing soon.
Intermac's the man, eh?
Yeah, but that Dupont, I rate him over Aaron Smith and Faf de Klerk.
Oh,
you watch. Then you can say, Red, you're right.
But are they consistent? Yep.
I because I've been injured, but they're back. I feel that they're consistent though. Yeah. Anyway,
it's just that old is that just that association you make with the French is they can be amazing and then they can be average at the same time.
I feel that those two have played really well. They haven't played for France this year, so But anyway, what's up, Mr. Tommy Dreamer?
Yeah, go to AB.
That's Tommy's man, the Fifth Factor. Johnny Key.
Sweet, everyone have a good week coming up, and enjoy enjoy Sid Diamond's interview.
Nice. Are we going into that right now?
Yeah.
Yep. We'll sign
Cool.
out.
Sign out.
Peace.
Kia ora, ko Sidney Diamond ahau, no hokianga ahau, kei karane mahau e noho ana, kei Unison ahau e mahi ana, ko te Ramaroa kupe me Pangaru oku maunga, ko Waipapa te awa, ko Hokianga te moana, ko ngā pui te raroa oku iwi, ko ngā tuku matawhāroa tōku waka. Kia ora.
Tui.
That's
yeah. Kia ora, bro. Kia ora, bro. And given that you've given us yours, it's only natural that I guess I reciprocate that. So yeah, kia ora. Ngā mihi mana kia koe, ko Sidney toku ingoa. I whānau mai okay ahu te reiria, e nari no hāmoa hau, e noho ana okay o tautahi. He kaimahi rangatahi mō Youth and Cultural Development. Nō reira, kia ora. Shop, bro.
Oh, kia ora.
Thanks for taking the time to, making time to catch up and I guess answer a few questions.
Nah, it's all good, bro. Sweetest.
How's lockdown been anyway, bro?
That's all right, bro. I was talking to Dan just before. I still work. I'm still working through it. So,
are you in Auckland or are you?
Nah, I'm in the Hawke's Bay, bro.
Oh, me.
Yeah. Better weather, not as congested, rat race, all that.
Beaches and that, eh?
Yeah, beaches and all that. Really good weather here, bro. Like, far out. Like, this whole lockdown has been, like, nice weather, like t-shirt, sunny, no clouds.
Mate.
Only rained, like, twice.
Oh, that's a part of the country I've never been to, so.
Oh, you'll like it, bro. It's nice here, man. Really nice.
So when you say you've been working just online or have you been...
No, I got an actual day job, bro. Like, I work on the power board, eh? I'm a linesman, a gloving line mechanic. Yeah, bro. I've been doing it for 7 years.
I am a linesman for the county.
I am a lineman for the county.
I actually like...
bro.
I like country, so real random, mate.
Nah,
I love
country, bro. It's positive.
I grew up in it, bro. Do you know that's one of the best? One of the things I love about country music is it's real wholesome.
Yeah. Nah, for real. Like, it's funny because the other night, since you're speaking about country music, I jumped in the truck. I had a fault, and they were playing country music, and I was like about to change the station. I was like, nah, let's just listen to it. Bro, I listened to it for like a whole 45 minutes driving back to the yard. It's not bad. It's all good.
Don't you think the kids would enjoy a nice song with a melody?
What you got, Holmes?
It is a rare, one-of-a-kind original pressing.
Oh, yeah? All right, man, I'm going to put it on there for you, all right?
Thanks.
Like a rhinestone cowboy, riding out on a horse in a star-spangled rodeo. Yo, man, these jams be kicking, man. You got any more of this funky fresh?
You were you came to prominence around the early 2000s. Would that be fair?
Nah, probably like late 2000s. Mid to late 2000s.
Yeah. As obviously young Sid and part of Smash Proof.
Yeah.
From what I can remember, and that was actually a hard time in New Zealand hip hop. It was a competitive time in New Zealand hip hop.
Yeah.
You know, what kind of artists were you up against then?
Yeah, it would have been, but not really against anybody. I don't really feel like we were put against each other, but at the time we had, and this is not competitive, we had Squire, we had Savage, Decepticons, David Dallas was in there, PNC.
Yeah.
And like mainstream wise, that was it.
Yeah. Oh man, so it's actually a good time for New Zealand hip hop, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably. I mean, no disrespect to anyone that came in the '90s and that, but I feel like that was our golden era for hip hop. I feel like the 2000s were, but I could be biased because I'm from the era. They could probably say the same thing, or the kids these days could say, "Nah, this is the golden era." It's just probably me being biased, to be honest.
Who are you? Did you have any New Zealand hip hop artists that you used that were sort of inspiring? I remember growing up would have been like Double J and Twice the T. I don't know if you remember them. Culture.
I remember Culture. I remember Culture. I remember Culture, but they were New Zealanders, but based in Aussie.
Yeah, you're right. I think they were based in Aussie. Yeah.
My one of my uncles, cousins with a couple of those guys, and he was over in Australia. Around that time, but I remember them. I remember Culture. I remember King Cab, Stab Native. Who else was there? Shay Fu. But these are people that, like, although I really respect them, I wasn't listening to them as a little boy. I was like listening to my older brother's music, which was like NWA, Ghetto Boys, just that type of rap.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s, anyway.
Bit of PE.
No, not really.
Nah, not really. Nah. Oh yeah.
Nah, we grew up mainly. We listened to the West Coast music. South Aucklanders, man. That's what we got into. I didn't really get into the East Coast up until like the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's cool, man.
Heaps of R&B too. Heaps of R&B.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I like it.
R&B, bro.
That's not something that I would have thought.
Even on my playlist now, it's R&B, bro. I don't really listen to much hip hop unless it's like New Zealand stuff. Now, anyway.
Yeah, because we used to have a little bit of, my cousin, just in a family thing, we used to be like, you either, I know we all listen to both, but you either fell in the gangster rap box or you're a slow jam guy.
Yeah.
So
I was fortunate enough to have like older siblings that were into both. So then I was kind of schooled on that type of music at a very young age. So I kind of got a big variety of artists to listen to as a young boy.
Who will you go to? For R&B, bro? Casey and JoJo?
R&B, Casey and JoJo, Jodeci.
Jodeci.
Not really Casey and JoJo as a duo, but Jodeci. I got Donnell Jones on my playlist. I've got Life Jennings. He's more of a 2000s guy.
Yeah.
Who else is on my playlist at the moment? I just did a playlist too. Rude Boys. I got Color Me Bad on there. I've got I got Tony Braxton and like TLC or like all of those old the old 90s R&B that I used to listen to. Even now, like I just done a playlist just like as recently as like 3 days ago, and I've got a lot of old school hip hop R&B on it.
Bro, that's me. Look, and if we fast forward to now, I'm seeing a lot of stuff around you. You've made a transition, I guess, from being in the music industry and now utilizing that profile that you had in terms of working with Rangatahi. Is that right? Is that what I'm seeing?
I mean, if I get the call up to do a workshop or whatever, I'm there. I mean, like you say, I've transitioned from a young boy to an adult, grown up. And just fortunate enough to make it through my 20s, make it through my teens, and not go to jail with all the stuff that a lot of people hear about from the areas that a lot of us grew up in, like in South Auckland. It's not as different as to it's not that much different to the smaller neighborhoods in this country. They go through the same thing: poverty-stricken, gangs, violence, abuse, all of that sort of shit. So I made it through all of that, and I'm able to give back to the Rangatahi now that are going through it, to just try and give them a little bit of game, a little bit about myself, and hopefully they get inspired to not do the exact same thing, but just to try and mature in a better way than what some of us had to deal with.
Bro, you mentioned growth. So there was no catalyst for you making that, utilizing your journey to reach out to other young people. There was no event that sort of inspired you to do that. It's just that you feel like you've grown.
Well, yeah, not really. It wasn't really an event, but I think this is where I was heading to anyway. If you check out one of my songs called Stuck in a Box, you can just go back to then. That was 2010. That's pretty much based on reality for a couple of people that I grew up with, and they're young people, and it's just telling a story about 2-3 people from the hood that didn't really utilize what they had, their talents that they had, and went another direction. And then there's one person, which is myself, and I made it rapping at that time, and that was basically something for the Rangatahi to look up to then. But there wasn't really an event as such to make me go on this path. I guess it's just maturing, bro. Like, we don't do the same things as a 35, 40-year-old as we once did as a 15 to 25-year-old. It's different now.
Tell me about it.
It's just part of the game. It's just part of living, bro. So not really an event.
Yeah. And honestly, that's what we find, like, we're telling young people as well. Like, we try and talk to them about, some of the decisions that they're making, the decisions that we made back then, if that makes sense. And we're trying. It's that same old cycle where you try and tell them because you feel like you know better through your lived experience. Yeah. But at the same time, there's a whole lot of that they won't necessarily listen to us. It's something that they have to go through as well, and they almost have to make bad decisions as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like, since you say, we've been through a lot of things when we were younger, we kind of can't give them our biography and expect them to change theirs. Like you said, they've got to live their experiences, and if they choose to do certain things, they're going to choose it anyway, regardless of if we go, this is what's going to happen if you do this and this and this. I mean, we can say it and hopefully it gets through to them, but unfortunately a lot of them won't hit unless it's somebody that they're really inspired by, someone they really look up to, like hard to look up to. If it was coming from them, maybe it will change them, put them on the right path. But other than that, man, sometimes they just gotta deal with life as it comes and get their experiences through mistakes, which is pretty stink. Like, I was fortunate enough to watch other people make these mistakes for me.
True.
So I had brothers and friends that are like going to jail, hustling, fighting, like all of that sort of stuff. I watch it. Yeah. My own family watching it, and then I'm like, oh, cool. So since they're doing that and they made a mistake and this is what's happening right in front of my face, I don't have to make the same choices and make the same mistakes. I just learn from them. Yeah. So I was quite lucky that I was able to just observe and figure out what I really wanted for my future.
Man.
Not to say I didn't make any mistakes. Like, I've done a lot of things that I'm not proud of. Like, even like as recently as like a couple of years ago, like, you're still going to make mistakes on your journey anyway. But
we all fallible way. We're all humans at the end of the day. So we're all no matter what stage of life we're in, you're right. Hey, you mentioned a song in 2010 that you dropped that I guess had a real positive message, but I recall a lot of your music actually having quite deep, messages. Would you? It wasn't just like it wasn't like some of the rap that we hear that's like, they're almost like stuff that they count. It's sort of hard to describe, but it's sort of like bravado, if that makes sense. That those sort of themes come through, whereas I felt like you had some real positive messages in a lot of your music.
Yeah, I mean, I did do the bravado stuff, like, and still do, like, depending on my mood and what I feel like writing about. But when I do write any song that I write for myself, that's just my song. It's an experience that I've already been through, or I'm watching someone go through. And as you say, some of the more positive stuff is coming from a place of it's happening right now, right in that moment. That's why I write the song. And then sometimes songs that I do that I'm feeling in that moment and I write about, they don't come out until like a year later, and by that time I'm not in that position anymore. But I can guarantee that somebody else is probably going through the same situation, and maybe it's going to help them in some way. But it's just a voice for a lot of people that are going through shit and they don't know how to vent or do anything about it. You know, they just know that someone else is going through it as well, been through it. So, and that's not my goal. That's not my goal. My goal is not to like be like, oh, okay, so he's going through this, he's going through this, I'm going to write about it so then I can feel cool with them. That's not me. Yeah. Like I said, if I'm going through it, I'm going to write about it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Mean. Rose, I guess I talked about seeing you on whether it be online or just, you know, on those social media platforms, sort of addressing rangatahi. Some of that's in, I guess, a bit of in and around Te Ao Māori stuff. So have you, I guess, in that as part of that journey, obviously explored a little bit of Te Ao Māori and your whakapapa and things like that? Or have you always had a connection to, obviously, your cultural, your heritage?
In some ways I've had a connection, but not as hard out as it is now. I recently started on a Te Ao journey just in March, and I really enjoy it too because it's given me a proper connection back to where I'm from, tikanga, being a Māori, being proud of myself, and instead of being somebody that's just from the hood and that's it, that's life. Because in some ways, although I was born and raised in Otara, and I love that place with my heart, but I don't. My ancestors are not from there. And at one point, I was willing to die for that area. Like for nothing. And, you know, it would have been for nothing, like literally nothing. By my own people, probably, But yeah, now as I've grown, as I've matured, I'm realizing that it's more. South Auckland is my home. I'm born and raised there, but my life means more than that. I've got like ancestors. You same as you, bro. I got ancestors in that that struggle to get me to where I'm at now. Not just myself. I've got a lot of people behind me that no one can see, but they're rooting for me to make things right or do the best that I can.
That's mean, bro. That's mean as dude. So hey, what at the moment, where's your anything? I guess hip hop wise, or even rangatahi project wise, anything other than the 9 to 5 grind in the pipeline for you?
I still work on things. I still have ideas floating around in my head all the time, but I haven't really sat down and really written out a proper plan for myself for like the next couple of years. But I definitely want to do workshops, whether it's music workshops or just a workshop for rangatahi, especially tribal rangatahi that come from a similar background of me.
But I hope so.
As we were saying, because the experience is there, and I've been through a lot of things similar to what they're going through, and if I can help at least one, then you know that's me giving back in some sort of way. But I would like, I need to come up with a business plan and go for funding, because when people hit me up to come to hold workshops, I'm like, oh, okay, so I need those costs covered, for me to get there and that. But, yeah, I hate it when they're like, can you come? I'm like, oh, it's a bit too far, all that sort of stuff, and I gotta spend time away from my family. And, you know how it is. But yeah, I'm really interested in doing that, man, for real.
But I hope so. I think you've got some gold, man, for you know, for the rangatahi out there. To be honest, you know the journey. And you're almost part of the journey that they see in their head, you know, when we talk about young people and they like deer and headlights.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
and sometimes and you're probably the headlights that you were one of those sort of things that they're staring at and aspiring to be. So I reckon you'd have some real gold. You mentioned sorry.
Oh no, you carry on, bro. Cheers, bro. Thank you. Anyway,
you just mentioned whānau, bro. Like some of the if there were commitments away from home, obviously an impact on whānau. But where's your whānau at the moment? What's your whānau situation at home and stuff like that?
Well, my kids, I got two kids. I got 2 kids and a wife. They're here. I just said, stay in the lounge or go outside and play until I finish this interview, and I'll come play with them.
How are they dealing with lockdown, bro?
Oh, they're all right. I guess my son was getting bored at the beginning because he couldn't play with other kids and that. But now he's starting to really enjoy it because although I still work, it's only for a call out. So I'm basically at home until I get called out. So I play with them hard out. Like, it's so fun. Really enjoying hanging out with my kids. I'm having more time with my kids in it. But yeah, I really love it. Like, being a father is probably the best thing that could happen to me, to be honest. I was talking to my wife before. I was like, I wish I had these kids 10 years ago, or even when I was 22 or something. And,
But in a way, look, I totally agree with you. It is the most amazing. I'm an old father as well. Like, I'm 42, and my oldest kid's 5, and my youngest she just turned 6 months. So I sort of waited a little bit in life, but I reckon I wasn't ready.
You were saying that? Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, I think fathering and being a part of a family is fairly requires you to put yourself on the back burner.
Yeah, because you got something to work for. Like, you got to provide. You got actually got
people more important than you, eh?
That's right. Exactly that.
Hey. One of the last things I wanted to hit you up about was quickly just to see if you're aware of the Chch Hiphop Summit that just got announced. I'm sure Danny talked to you about it. Did you hear about it?
Yeah. I heard about it. Red was messaging me on my Sid Diamond page that I don't even look at. And I think he was messaging for a bit. And then he texts me, he goes, "Hey, bro, are you getting my messages on your Facebook page? I've got a couple of things that might interest you." And then he told me about the Hip Hop Summit in Christchurch. I was like, "Yeah, bro, sweet. I'm in there."
Yes, that's what I wanted to hear. Yeah, bro. Red's he's been putting in some hard mahi to get it over the line. So it's pretty exciting for Christchurch. It's a wee way away from the hip hop hubs like Wellington and Auckland, but we still got we still pack a bit of punch when it comes to hip hop down here. You guys
have got a lot of talent down there, bro. Like heaps, bro.
But it's more a platform for hip hop, eh? That's what we're excited about. And I'll tell you what, you talked about sort of working with or running a program or something of your own in the future that reaches Rangatahi. That'd probably be a good opportunity to
have a jam, have a go. That'd be awesome. I'll be keen to do that too, bro.
But even to talk with some people, obviously the likes of Red and that, Danny, they've got heaps of resources and networks that obviously utilize hip hop and in the social setting and social sector. So it'd be a good opportunity to catch up and have a corridor about that. But
even just catching up with them too, they're funny.
Yeah, bro.
I've been mates with them for ages since I started my career, pretty much. Yeah, they've always held it down for me. They've been good people for me.
Danny, anything else that you want me to touch on before we?
I was really keen. I was really keen to let him touch on the "Don't Run" track that he just recorded because it was done through Ngātahu, which is a local iwi here. So a lot of our rangatahi, that's actually their tribe, so they can kind of feel connected to. Then the message in that song was quite, I think it's quite important for our young people to know if they haven't heard that song. So the track you done, Don't Run, if you just want to explain to us how that came about and your thoughts around writing those lyrics.
Yeah, okay. Don't Run. I got a call from Phil Bell, DJ Severe, and he had a job for me. He said somebody from Ngaitahu, I'm not sure what business it was, but what's his name? Edu? Aren't you related to that fella?
Yeah, he's my cousin, Edu Prendergast.
Yeah, him. So he got in touch with Severe asking if I could do a song for the rangatahi around the country that are getting pretty much shut down, and schools are getting streamed, right, to the point where teachers they just put in a box, the unteachable box, and then that's them throughout their educational life, if that made any sense.
Yeah.
And, so they asked me to write a song, but don't make it too like nice and pretty in it. So I was like, oh sweet, say no more.
That's my game.
Bro, this is yeah. It was so easy for me to write because I understood that. I've been through like experiences like that through my high school teachers. I've been put in that box where they felt I wasn't teachable, but then I end up carving up most of the students at school in my class because I got all my grades, bro. I wasn't a dummy. It just looked like I wasn't paying attention, but I passed everything. And so writing that song was like a massive ass weight off my chest, I guess. Was really just telling the rangatahi out there to just use that as a challenge and just try and challenge people with your smarts. Because we're smart people. It's just some people don't take us serious because of maybe our skin color, where we grow up at, how the media perceives us to be. But yeah, we're just telling my people that you're smart enough to be better than that stigma that's placed on you. Like, that's it, really. And I did it the way that I wanted to do it in terms of getting told how to write it. So I used the Nas I Can as a reference. If you listen to it, you could probably hear the references in it, like king, queen. Like, I made sure that when I did it, I actually pay respect to Nas, because he was my idea. But that's how it came about.
Look, I really appreciate that. I again have appreciated you taking the time and making the time to just give us a bit of insight into your world.
Yeah.
And sort of, your journey through the hip hop world as well. And it's real cool to hear. It's real cool to hear your heart for the rangatahi and how you keep to use, obviously, the road you've travelled to sort of affect the next generation positively. And I really hope that comes to fruition.
I'm trying to, because shucks, like it looks like people are losing their way. I really feel that. Like, I really feel that with us is like the people in the Māori people, Pacific Island people in the poor communities that got to go through all the dramas that brings. I really feel that we're lacking tikanga, because if we have that, then there's nothing else that could really stop us from doing anything, We can kind of eradicate all the dramas and all that sort of shit that's happening in our lives right now and just stick to that. Just knowing who we actually are in terms of
strong identity.
Because that's what it is, an identity crisis maybe, and like I'm part of that, and I'm figuring it out now, so it's all good. This is my boy Tamorangi.
That's a little bit, eh? Yeah.
I suppose I'd like to thank you as well. Like to thank you for because I know over the years we've built a really good relationship with you, and you've really looked after Y.C.D. You know, you've come in and done a lot of stuff for us. Where you know, you probably could have charged a whole lot of money, but you pretty much done it off the love for us. And
Nah, that's all good, bro.
yeah, just like to say thank you on behalf of Y.C.D. for all the efforts you've done for us and for our.
Oh no, it's all good, bro. My pleasure. Eh? Like I've been looked after from you guys for years and years and years, bro. So that's a friendship thing more than a money thing.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Yeah, pass on our thanks to the whānau too. It looks like they're pretty keen to hang out some more.
Yeah, they want me to come play on the chat with them now.
Me.
Nah, all good. Nah.
Thanks, bro.
Nah, sweet ass, man. Nah. Catch you later, eh? Have a good one. Take care. I'll see you guys at the summit.
Yeah, bro.
All right. Ka kite.
Ka kite.
Ka kite.
Daddy.
You will never be alone, girl, you got your sons. And you know that no man can ever take their place. You told me on the phone it's for the long run, but I see it on your face, your words are low on faith, babe. Could it be maybe you chose the wrong one and let the right one go? You done it before, telling them one thing and telling me you're not sure. And still your biggest concern is that I'll get bored, but I can let it burn cause I just want more than you're willing to give. Like flour to a sieve, and to keep thinking positive means I have to ignore the fact that you don't trust me with your feelings at all. So I fall deeper for a woman with a broken heart. We started in a blaze, now waiting on these token sparks. It was all sun rays and now it's overcast. We ain't praying, but every day it's like, oh my God. Hey, I don't know how this all supposed to go. I don't know. Now I don't know for sure, but before you go, I just want you to know. I just want you to know. I just want you to know. Before you change a new chapter, wherever our seeds grow, I won't leave them to pasture. I won't leave them to. I won't leave them to. I won't leave them to pasture. Wherever our seeds grow, I won't leave them to pasture. No, I won't leave them to pasture. I won't leave them to. Before you say that I'm a waste man, what really seems to be the better option. The problem is we haven't got one. You know that I can take that. And together we ain't solid, but our souls are slowly breaking when we watch them. Cause after all the sacrifice, they all we got now. All the pride and the honor we had been shot down. Here we are faded to shadows of our lost selves. We gambling our lives, but what really is the cost now? Me getting violent, you slipping away. You sitting there crying, and then we getting blazed. Until another day and the shit all starts to say. How do we deal with this pain? How do we digress from this phase? I don't know. I don't know for sure, but I don't think this is the way to go. I don't know. I don't know for sure, but before you go, I just want you to know. I just want you to. I just want you to know. Before you change a new chapter, I won't lead them to pasture. I won't lead them to grow. No, I won't lead them to pasture. I won't lead them to. Yeah, love my father. Te awariki, taniora, tihima, one for you.